This is the Patriots Catch-22 podcast with Evan Lazar and Alex Barth.
I'm Evan Lazar. Evan Lazar. Hello, everybody.
Nailed it. Joined as always by our Barth. That's a fit. That's a match. No risk it, no biscuit.
22.
Here is Evan Lazar and Alex Barth.
Now you can play action. Now you can boot. You can move the pocket off of that. That's how you can protect the quarterback. And not only are you protecting the quarterback, but you're protecting the pass protection as well, because you're doing these things schematically that give the defense pause and it forces the defense to respect the run and respect the actions in the backfield.
So let me just get this straight.
All of these things, it's not where I want to be. Like, it's not like the end goal. It's not the end game.
But you're
here.
acknowledging the run can set up the pass. That whole argument we had this winter about me saying being tough on the line of scrimmage and pushing the defense around initially can benefit you later in the game.
I am acknowledging that run actions mean more than just running the football. How did you like that for weaseling out of saying that running the football sets up play action? That was pro by me there.
You just admitted it.
No,
that's all you did. You just admitted it.
I said what I said. Hello, everybody.
Yeah, you said that establishing the run works.
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
I said that run actions are sell to the defense.
That's just establishing the run with that's more words.
But it's not
same thing.
But it's not about volume of running. It's just about showing.
Nobody ever said establishing the run was a volume thing.
What? How else would you establish the run? You have to feed the
by
rock.
running the football well.
Or running it early. Establish the run at a high volume.
Yeah, okay, so the number is not 0. It doesn't mean run it 10 times in a row.
Okay. I don't know. I feel like that's established the run.
I've never viewed establish the run as a volume thing.
All right, that's a good semantics argument.
There are times where I would campaign for volume running of the. I usually say that running the hell out of the ball or running the damn ball, but when I say establishing the run, I mean running it well, not running it. If you run the ball 10 times in a row and all 10 runs go nowhere, you didn't establish the run.
You just ran the ball into a brick wall.
Right.
Which is what the nerds say is the issue with the conversation, is like you are just purposely 3 yards in a cloud of dusting it because you just want to establish the run.
No, to me,
but it's not efficient
offense. Look, if your first run gets stuffed,
yeah,
and you'd never try it again, that's stupid too.
Right.
Like you got to realize when you got to kind of make an adjustment. But like to me, establishing the run means, say you run it like 5 times on your first drive, right? 3 of them go for 5+, 1 of them goes for 10+. Now in the defense has said, oh crap, they can run on us. We got to stack the box, or we can't send as many guys on the blitz, or we can't put as many guys back in coverage because they're just going to run on us all damn day. If we keep doing what we're doing, they've already ripped off 3 good ones here in 5 plays. Like that, to me, once you've established that mental side of it, that's what establishing the run is to me. It's making the defense change the way they approach it. If you run 10 times in a row, the defense stops all of it and changes nothing, you didn't establish the run. You tried to, but you didn't.
So quick story, and then I promise we'll get to the real part of the show that was not this.
I mean, it's a fun conversation.
But quick story. So I just, humble brag, just bumped into the McCourty twins on my way in this morning into the stadium because they are going to be broadcasting the game along with your friend Scott Zolak on WBZ, I think, right? Local, CBS Local.
I feel like you should know that.
The preseason game, the preseason opener between the Patriots and the Commanders here at Gillette Stadium at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. I should also, and I say tomorrow, I mean Friday, if you're listening to this on demand. And I should also mention the Tom Brady statue going in tomorrow, Friday, before the game at, I believe, 6 p.m. is the kickoff.
That one I know. That is 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock in the plaza, so that will be exciting as well. If you have tickets to the game, I think this is an important thing to say. If you have tickets to the game, you're actually going to be able to watch the Brady statue ceremony on the scoreboard and on the video boards. So you don't have to necessarily be in the plaza for that. You can watch it as well in the stadium if you have a ticket to the preseason game. Enough plugs now. Did the company thing. But I saw the McCourty twins and it made me think of this story. Devin said this story at some point, I don't know when, that to this play action thing, that Vince Wilfork used to tell him before games, don't be coming up here. He would tell Devin, he'd say, don't worry about the run. Like, I got the run. Like, you go worry about, what's going on behind me, right? Like, don't be coming up here. And he said that Vince Wilfork, anytime the safeties would like bite on play action and start screaming upfield to try to stop the run, and they give up a play because of that, Vince Wilfork would just be irate. Like, he would just get on their butts for it. He would just be like, do not come up here. Like, do you know who I am? Right. I am Vince Wilfork. I will stop the run. You worry about the receivers not getting behind you. So that's the whole thing, right? Like, that's my exact
point is like, if the other team doesn't, if the safeties don't have to come screaming up because the defensive line's taking care of the run, you didn't really establish the run.
All right, so let's talk about practice. And I wanted to segue into that by saying let's talk about practice, because I do think it's worth saying there's a lot of positive reviews about what the Patriots did yesterday against the Washington Commanders in joint practice. And I don't want to take away from that. I don't want to rain on parades. I don't want to do anything like that. But we are talking about practice, so I want to keep that in perspective. They're not going to the Super Bowl just yet, right? We're stacking. We're stacking days. With that being said, with that caveat aside, it was a really positive day for the Patriots yesterday. I thought on both sides of the ball they competed. I thought offensively for about 95% of the practice, they had the upper hand on the Commanders' defense. Then obviously the pick at the end, which I hate that I have to put that in there. The but of it all.
Well, did you hear me try to explain it on Felger and Maz yesterday?
No, but
I called it a competitive interception and got yelled at.
Oh, good. Good way to put it. Competitive interception.
It wasn't in the sense of like, it wasn't a spray. It wasn't like a what the hell is he thinking kind of read. He tested a window and a Hall of Fame linebacker jumped into it.
Yeah.
That's going to happen.
So the most positive point, and I want to go big picture like we always do, and we're going to go small, go into the details, into the weeds, and I have notes, facilitation notes of how, like, we're going to hit every position. I promise. We're going to get into the minutia here. But the big picture thought that I had taking away from this was that I really thought I saw offensively, and I will admit that I watched more of the offense than the defense.
As did I.
Oh, good. That'll be a good show. The offensively, I felt like I was seeing a lot of teach tape of the Josh McDaniels offense. Like, when they ran a play, like, this is how the script and this is how it's supposed to look when we put the play up on the video board or on the whiteboard in the meeting room, and we say, like, this receiver is going to run here and that receiver is going to run there, and we're going to get the ball out here and we're going to read it like this. Like, I saw a lot of plays where the initial look that Drake Maye saw, the initial picture, the initial read was open. The ball was out on time. It was on the receivers accurately. The receivers were then transitioning and taking the ball and making some plays with it and yards after the catch, especially the tight ends and Pop Douglas. I thought were just hitting on time, in rhythm throws throughout the practice. And that was highly encouraging. We saw some play action mix in there, some McDaniels classic pull the guard, play action type plays, pop passes. We saw the little quick hitters over the middle of the field from Demario Douglas, just right out of the McDaniels playbook of the slot receiver. First down, we're balls out, first down, we're moving the chains, right? We're ahead of schedule, or we're on schedule. All of that kind of thing. That was probably the most encouraging part, because I've seen joint practices in years past. I know we always talk about the Eagles joint practice, but I want to stay away from that practice for a second, because that was just, I'm going to be blunt, that was just a train wreck, right? That was just an absolute car crash.
That was a historically good front against a historically bad line.
Right. I'm more talking about joint practices 2 years ago with the Green Bay Packers, or I want to say it was 3 years ago with the Las Vegas Raiders. Like, practices that were more competitive than the one last year that we saw against Philadelphia. Those practices, it was like blips here and there, where like Devontae Parker, I think in the Green Bay practice, they did like the 45-second thing that they did at the end of practice yesterday, and Devontae Parker got behind the defense and they hit one, right? Like, and it was like, okay, great. But the other, 10 throws in the string weren't great, right? But they ended it on a high note with that. Same thing with Vegas. They had one 45-second, 1 minute drill that went really, really well at the end of one of those practices in Las Vegas. But this practice was like consistent. This looks like a Patriot offense. Like, this looks in rhythm. This looks on time. The line is holding up. Drake Maye is making the right reads. He's making the right throws. The ball is accurate. It's out on time. It's on the receiver, and we're going. And that I have not seen in a Patriot joint practice in quite some time. Probably since Brady was here, honestly.
All right, so me and Reese both said that. Reese said it on Zolak and Bertrand, and I said it on Felger and Maz, that this felt like maybe their most complete offensive practice since Brady. And I know when Reese said it, he said he was worried about getting caught up in the moment. I was as well.
Yeah.
You go back to, I think somebody tweeted at me, like, jokingly, when I, like, late in practice, and I was like, hey, this is going great. It was like, oh, so is this the Mac Jones Giants practice?
That's a good one.
I mean, that one's up there. Obviously, it didn't amount to much, but that one's up there.
Yep. I forgot about that one. That's a good one.
But no, it's, I mean, right, and look, one practice, best practice since Brady kind of sounds tongue-in-cheek, but, like,
Sure.
You're against a team that was in the NFC Championship last year. And the Patriots, from what I saw from the defense, too, and I had Matt Zoloff watching the defense, and he knows what he's watching, so we conferred notes, and we both agreed that on both sides of the ball, the Patriots looked like the better team. Now, the Commanders were down a few more starters than the Patriots were, so maybe that was it. But you came away from that feeling good. You came away from that feeling like the Patriots belonged. It's been a minute since they've had one of those joint practices, like you said, where it was like, yeah, that was a healthy back and forth.
Yeah, that's exactly how I would describe that as well. And, I was just really encouraged by it. Did not look like any element of the offense was so catastrophic that they couldn't run the offense.
Right.
Like, it didn't look like the line was getting whooped so they couldn't run the offense, or the quarterback just was in over his head so they couldn't run the offense, or the receivers weren't getting separation down the field so they couldn't run the offense. They had all three of those things were good enough to compete in a game, or in a practice, against a team that was in the NFC Championship game a year ago. Now, we talked a little bit about this on Patriots Unfiltered. Like, maybe the Commanders overachieved a little bit last year. I think there's some of that going on as well. But still, they're a playoff team. They're a playoff caliber opponent. And the Patriots held their own and maybe even won the practice, if you want to do that sort of thing. So that's my big picture thought, my overall takeaway. Did you have anything else to add, or were you kind of in the same?
I just think with Drake, so you mentioned there, like, the offense as a whole was operational. There were a couple minor things. There were a few more drops than I'd like to see. And there were times I felt like the offensive line, more the right than the left side, but there were times I felt like the offensive line wasn't great. Drake Maye made it work when the offensive line got beat. There probably were a couple plays that could have been sacks, and whether it was him, and not in the sense that, like, it would have been a sack in a game sacks. Like, we're not even going to count as a sack, because whether it was Drake getting the ball out of his hand quickly or moving in the pocket, it felt like he was able to adapt when the line was getting beat, which, again, wasn't to this worrying extent, but it happened. And I think as we talk about Drake going into year two, and can he be that guy that you think of when you think of a top 3 draft pick, elevating the talent around you? How much have we talked about that in relation to the quarterback position here in New England, going back to the Mac Jones era, right? Elevating the talent around you. And there's going to be times, and we can get to the offensive line depth, because the starters I thought were fine. They weren't amazing, but they were fine. They were solid. The backup tackles worry me. And it's the NFL. There's going to be injuries, right? So there might be times when Drake Maye is going to have to elevate the offense. And I thought he elevated it yesterday, especially when it comes to the line and preventing pressures. At times, he was his own best pass protector yesterday.
So I want to go throw for throw with Drake in a second. I want to say one last thing. I think that there's, when they hired Mike Vrabel back in January, there was this hope that at the bare minimum, Mike Vrabel was going to bring them back to level, right? He was going to bring them back to a competent level of football, that their offense especially just has not looked like the last 2 or 3 years. Like, can we get back to the 16th best offense in the league?
Right.
And yesterday, I felt like we were there. I felt like they were back to being at least a middle of the road NFL worthy, NFL caliber offense. Now, to your point, that to go from 16th to top 10 to top 5 or whatever it ends up falling, that sort of becomes a question more about the quarterback, in my opinion.
At least this year.
I think the coaching has gotten them to a point of competency. I think that's what coaching does. It sets the floor of your team.
Yeah.
Now the talent on the roster is the question of, can they get above just middle, right? Can they go from middling to really good? And that, I think, will come down to the quarterback. The things that I saw from Drake, I just want to go through a couple of the throws, because I thought some of the throws that he made yesterday were really just what's the word? Just
Excellent.
yeah. Just high-end plays, like really good. We would call them in Pro Football Focused parlance, big-time throws, dimes, right?
There you go.
That's what we would call it. The first one that stood out to me was, and I wish we had video of it to show you guys, but unfortunately, I don't have that kind of pull. I can't. But he, to your point earlier about like avoiding pressure, there was some pressure coming off the right side, off the right tackle. And he had two hands on the ball, and he almost like, you know, when basketball players like swing through,
Yeah.
right? He like swung the ball through, like dodged the pressure, then slid up in the pocket, and then 3/4, throw like arm angle, and dropped an off platform like all in one motion type of throw at a 3/4 angle on a crossing route to Pop Douglas. That was just hit Pop Douglas right in the chest. And I was just like, all right, you know, that's a good sign. This is early on in the practice. Then he, on the next string of plays, he looked off the coverage and he kind of like pumped into the flat. I think might have been Travion Henderson that was releasing into flat. And they kind of had like a little bit of like a look like it could have been like a bubble or a screen into the flat. And he pumped the flat, and the whole Washington defense went with the pump fake. And then he came back to the middle of the field, and I think he kind of no-looked it to Austin Hooper over the middle of the field, and there was nobody within 10 yards of Austin Hooper because of Drake, because of the coverage manipulation that he was doing. And when I saw those two throws from Drake specifically, the pocket movement and the off-platform to Pop, and then the throw with the manipulation to Hooper, like that to me is when Drake is feeling it. Like you can kind of tell there's a swagger and like a playmaking ability to it that comes out where you can tell when he's sort of in that zone a little bit with what he's doing. And he starts to do some of these like minutia quarterback stuff. That's not just, oh, I'm sitting here throwing the football. I'm moving the pocket. I'm pump faking off coverage and I'm throwing the ball, where they're not, I'm reading the field quickly and seeing things happen quickly. And then the throw that really, I thought, cemented the day for Drake Maye was actually a drop by Travion Henderson on a wheel route where Drake Maye dropped it right in the basket, but he actually made a throw just to be, not pick on Travion. He actually made a throw to Matt Collins as well. That was right in the cover 2 hole, right in between the underneath corner and the safety over the top, like right in that honey hole along the sideline. And he made these like 3 or 4 throws in this span of maybe like 6 or 7 passes.
Yeah.
And I was just like, all right, like he's dealing. Like this is Drake Maye at his finest. That is me giving him his flowers. I want to get your take, and then I want to talk about the pick. But let's give him his flowers first, because for the 95% of the practice, I thought he was nails.
No, like I said, I think the team as a whole was good, and we can get into some of the other individuals. I'm sure we will, but I think they were as good as they were because of Drake Maye. I think he elevated things more so the line than the receivers. The receivers did not help him out. Henderson had 2 drops. One of those was in 7s. Matt Collins had a couple drops as well. But he elevated the group. He elevated the group doing some of the stuff you talked about and some of the stuff I talked about. And that's what the year 2 jump is, right? Like, okay, last year he looked good in a bubble. Didn't really amount to anything, but you saw a lot to like individually. Now it's about, okay, can those individual traits actually translate to wins? And that means just making plays, even if there's plays not there to be made. And not that there weren't plays to be made yesterday, but again, I think you throw Josh Dobbs out there, and no offense to Josh Dobbs, just like average quarterback, right? Replacement quarterback. You throw Josh Dobbs out there, I don't think we're gushing over the offense the way we are. I think like the one to Austin Hooper, that's not open without Drake. Like that was created by Drake Maye.
Yeah, I agree, and I just thought he looked really good in that portion of practice. Really for the vast majority, or even just little things like throwing with anticipation, like the back shoulder throw to Kayshon Boutte. We actually do have video of it up on our Patriots socials, and that ball's out like well before Boutte turns around.
He's still in the route. Yeah, he's still very much in the early stages of the route.
So when a quarterback is trusting it and he's seeing the field well and he's processing at the right speed, you see a lot of anticipatory throws, a lot of throws that are thrown before the receiver starts to break or before this receiver gets his eyes back to the quarterback. And that's when the offenses are at their most dangerous because, that's when they're the hardest to defend, if you will.
He's made quite a few of those timing sort of placement chemistry throws this summer. A bunch to Diggs. He's had a couple to Booty. It's obviously his timing's more advanced with some receivers than others, which is not necessarily surprising, right? He's been working with some of these guys a little bit longer, and then Diggs is just a dude. But,
Right.
I've been impressed where his chemistry is at with some of these main receivers at this stage. And that Booty one you're talking about is a great example of, that's not something you meet somebody for the first time, you go out and you throw that.
Right.
That is something that's a throw you make because you and that one specific player, like the two of them, it's not like him and any receiver are drilling that. Him and Booty have drilled that over and over and over. So, he trusts Booty to be at the right place at the right time. Booty knows when and where the ball is going to be without having to look for it. That's what you want to see. That's how you develop an offense.
So there were his flowers. That was his bouquet of roses at the feet for what he did yesterday. The interception at the end, I do want to break it down and talk about it. I think the biggest thing that and I'm not in Drake Maye's head. This is just my read on it, and based off of what he said after practice, I feel pretty good that this is basically what happened, and can talk about it like this. I think sometimes when he gets down there by the goal line, he gets a little bit excited, overzealous.
Eyes light up.
Right. So when he saw, Pop Douglas is working in the slot, and I want to get to Pop later in the show, who I thought was also a clear standout yesterday.
Pop was the best non-Drake Maye player on the field yesterday.
So Pop Douglas gets open right off the line on a slant, and he's open. He's going to walk into the end zone, and all Drake Maye has to do is put the ball on him. And I feel like Drake just got a little bit he's open, he just gets a little excited. And he didn't see out of the corner of his eye that Bobby Wagner was reading Drake's eyes. So all Drake Maye did was he caught the football, went right to Pop Douglas, and he just brought Bobby Wagner right to the passing lane. He brought him right to the party. And he said after practice that he needs to look Bobby Wagner off, or maybe start left and then come back right, but just have some sort of eye manipulation involved in the process there to make sure that Bobby Wagner doesn't get there. Instead, what he said he tried to do is just throw it as hard as he could and basically throw it through Bobby Wagner. And when you play a really good player like Wagner, you called him a future Hall of Famer. I think that's valid. I think that's fair.
Is that up for debate?
Probably not. But
Shouldn't be.
Yeah.
I'm going to be annoyed if it is.
So Bobby Wagner just made a really good play on the football. With that being said, I think there is a conversation that certainly we bring up a lot on PU, and Deuce is the ringleader of this, of just finishing and clutching late and having that ability to put the team over the top in those moments. Now, it's practice, so I'm not going to sit here and say it's the same as him failing to do that in a game.
Practice like you play. But
we saw this last year, and I looked it up real quick because I was just curious. No game-winning drives or fourth-quarter comebacks for Drake Maye last year. Jaden Daniels had 4 of them.
I thought he had 5.
Well, they say 4. I don't know. I go by Pro Football Reference. I don't know if it's 4 or 5.
All right, fine.
4 is what they have. Jaden Daniels had 4 of them. Drake Maye had 0. At North Carolina, I feel like this was a similar conversation that they were having about Drake Maye, where he looks like an All-American, or he looks like a franchise quarterback now at this level. From the eye test, you see it. You see the tools. You see the ability. You see the throwing ability and the shot making. Like, you see, it's all right there for you to watch. But then when it comes down to it, you're in the fourth quarter and you look at the scoreboard and somehow his team is losing.
Right.
And I feel like that happened quite a bit at North Carolina, especially the second year as a starter at North Carolina quite a bit. So you just hope, and I'm not saying that it necessarily is a pattern just yet in the NFL, because I think last year it's unfair to hold it against him completely that they were in those positions. But you just hope that that's not going to become a pattern at this level, and that's sort of the story, right? Is that he's this looks the part, looks great in shorts, franchise quarterback, all the bells and whistles, but when it comes down to clutch and late situations, they just don't get over the hump. And I'm not saying that means they're going to win 4 games. Maybe that means that they only win like 8 or 9 though, instead of 10-11 playoff team.
Look,
level.
to get to the playoffs, they're gonna have to steal some games.
Yeah.
That usually means winning late. No, you're absolutely right. And we saw it in the in-stadium, and he's got to be better late in those games. Now, being better in general will help with that. I think it's really starting and finishing. Like, he's good in the middle. He's just got, if he starts better, you'll have less of these like late game situations. But that is the next step for him.
Yeah, I feel like it is, and I mean, you knew his North Carolina career probably better than me. Like, did you feel like that was the narrative about him at North Carolina too? Because I remember in the draft us talking about this a little bit.
The second year more so, but also that program that's kind of always been North Carolina, like even before Drake Maye. And some programs are just, you look at them, like Nebraska's another one. You look at Nebraska, if Nebraska's in a close game late, I don't care who's the quarterback, they're going to lose. That's just what they do. I think they had like 8 one-score losses a couple years ago, something like that. I don't remember. They had some absurd stat about close losses, but like North Carolina's just always sort of been one of those teams that you don't love in a close game, and that predates Drake Maye. So hopefully kind of here, that's off of him now. And also, we'll see what Bill can do about that down there, because that's something we know Bill's not going to stand for, just kind of on a tangent. But, yeah, I guess that was a thing during his college career, but and maybe this is just the college football fan in me, I looked at it more of like, it's North Carolina. That's what they do.
I do wonder if that's something that you can coach. Like, is that something Vrabel can realistically, because Vrabel was a clutch player and Vrabel was a winning player. He's been a successful head coach with the Titans where they won a lot of these types of games that they probably shouldn't have won at times with Tennessee. Like, can you instill that in a player? Not saying that it's not in there. Maybe it's more like Vrabel just needs to kind of get it out of him more.
I think to an extent, like, you can't create that in somebody. Like, you're not just going to turn him into Tom Brady, right? But I do think there are ways to kind of drill it into him. And I think there's ways to coach around it too, which ideally you don't want to do with the quarterback position. But I think you can. There's been some quarterbacks who, I'm trying to think of an example off the top of my head, who are like not super clutch in college. And
I don't think that was really the narrative on Mahomes. Like, Mahomes at Texas Tech lost a lot.
Mahomes was just like, Mahomes wasn't like great at Texas Tech. He was good, but he wasn't
right. But he had good production at Texas Tech because of that offense and the style of offense. So if you want to talk about like
good production without winning, he was definitely one of those guys.
I think that if you are a Patriots fan and you want to Mahomes has what, 3 Super Bowls? Like, I'm not saying that Drake Maye is going to win 3 Super Bowls, but if you're a Patriots fan and you're hoping that doesn't translate, that's one thing that doesn't translate from college to the pros for Drake Maye. The active quarterback that I can think of that was like that in college and overcame it in the pros is Mahomes.
I'll give you another one. Or it works in the reverse. Justin Fields was actually seen as a pretty clutch college quarterback. And I mean, I don't know how many close games he's in because he just hasn't been good, but I don't like, he hasn't necessarily been in that spot. So
all right, moving on. Not a pretty impressive practice, I would say, from Josh Dobbs. Like, I just want to throw that out there. Not that it
ones of the summer.
Not that it matters that bit much in the grand scheme of things, but I just wanted to say that.
Credit where credit's due. We do that.
We talk about the whole roster, right? You always get on me about talking about the whole roster.
The whole team. No, that's fair.
I'm covering the whole team.
He did overthrow Javon Baker once, but
I thought that he had a nice practice himself. I thought maybe the best throw that actually was completed was the slot fade to Matt Collins at the end of practice. Like, that was probably the best completion of the practice.
Yeah.
For either team that I saw. And it was a throw by Josh Dobbs, so credit to him. I want to talk about the offensive line. I was going to go receiver first, but I'm an offensive line guy, so we're going to go offensive line first. I was felt really good coming out of the practice about the way that the starting 5 looked. Now, it wasn't the full starting 5. Morgan Moses continues to be a limited participant, as he has been pretty much all summer. I still am small c concerned about that, but I understand. Like, it's a plan. There's a plan in mind, and Vrabel has a plan for the Morgan Moses, and it's year 12, and he's 34, and they're just trying to keep him healthy. I think Carlton Davis is in a similar boat, and when week 1 rolls around against the Raiders, then Morgan Moses is going to be out there at right tackle. That's what I'm that's what I'm holding out hope for. But really, the focus yesterday was on the left side of the line.
I'll just ask you this, though, on Moses. Like, I'm not concerned injury-wise. It's not like, oh, there's some secret injury they're hiding. And even if there is, he's generally played through injuries in his career. Are you worried at all about, the 5 sets of eyes, right? See it through the same set of eyes, that thing, the chemistry with the rest of the line. When does he miss too much time that you... Because, I mean, they still have 3 preseason games and a bunch of practices left. But, like, when do you start to worry he could be building chemistry with Drake in the line and he's missing that opportunity? Or are you there yet?
I'm not there yet because I think the one advantage is like if it's a tackle, like they're more out on islands than let's say the interior. I think it's more important in terms of seeing it through the same set of eyes with the 3 guys on the interior because they're gonna see the stunts, the picks, the actions up front that defenses use to get guys free. Like a lot of that stuff happens in between the guards, and not as much of it happens. Like when you're at a tackle, it's kind of just the guy's out in front of you and you're just kind of dancing with the edge rusher. When you have guys coming through the A gaps that are blitzing, when you have stunts, when you have twists, like those things, the games, like that stuff all usually happens on the interior. So from that aspect, like if it has to be anybody that's in and out of practice, I'd rather it be a tackle than a guard. If that makes sense. With Moses, my concern more with him is that it's been better when he's practiced in full. It's been better of late. So I'm hoping that this is just a slow build in every aspect. But out of the chute, I didn't think he looked great in team when he was out there. I thought he looked a little slow. But maybe that was him just kind of easing into it and getting his timing back and his rhythm back. Because it's rhythmic position tackle. You gotta get your feet right. You gotta get your cadence correct. You gotta come out of the stance at the right time and time up the snap count and like all that stuff. So maybe that is a slow burn in all fronts with Morgan Moses, which to your point, it's not ideal. It's not ideal from that standpoint.
I'm just when I say, because I'm with you, I'm like little concerned about Morgan Moses. But when I say I'm concerned, it's not like, oh my God, he's hurt. Like he's already hurt, and the 34-year-old, he's banged up and he can't handle it. I'm not worried with that. I think when the time comes to be out there, he'll be out there. It's about him being on the same page as everybody and being ready. It's just about him, getting ready for it. That there's a tipping point with rest days. And look, to be fair, they've given Carlton Davis a ton of rest days. I don't think, in terms of how do I phrase this? Because I don't want to minimize what Carlton Davis is doing, because it shouldn't be. Like Carlton Davis's assignment is going to be week to week. Study this receiver, learn him, learn what he does, cover him. I don't know how much of that he's doing at practice. I don't know how deep Carlton Davis's assignments are in the playbook compared to maybe what Morgan Moses is doing, right?
Yeah.
So Carlton Davis, I don't think like it hurts him as much missing practice time. Does that make sense? Like I'm not saying that Carlton Davis isn't important.
I feel the same way about Gonzalez. I feel the same way about both those corners. Like as far as I'm concerned with Carlton Davis and Christian Gonzalez, week 1 against the Raiders, you got to be out there, but until then, you're on ice.
What are they gaining, I guess, in these practices? It's what they stand to gain in these practices versus what Moses gains. I think Moses can gain more in these practices. I think a tackle in general, it's not just Moses. I think a tackle can gain more in this setting than a cornerback can, especially a veteran to a veteran. With Gonzalez, take all the time. Like, week 1, take all the time they need. I don't want to. You don't rush a star player like that back, especially for not meaningful games. Speaking of which. Did you have to like control yourself when Tatum walked out to practice without anything on his ankle?
We'll talk about it in the second half.
Great question to Drake Maye, by the way. Good football talk from Evan Lazar.
Listen, every once in a while, as a team employee, I have to serve up a softball. All right.
Asking about the Duke UNC rivalry is not a softball to those guys, Evan. That's the real deal.
Okay, so I want to stick on the topic at hand. Okay. Really quickly, what was I going to say? We'll get back to the corners, and we can talk about that. Let's stick on the offensive line. So I think the most encouraging thing from this practice on overall was probably the play of the offensive line and how competent they looked, at least the starting 5. Will Campbell, I thought really held his own in team. I think I saw maybe one pressure that he allowed in team, but for the most part, I thought he was really good in team. Now, one-on-ones, Dietrich Wise and him kind of went back and forth, and there was some splitting of hairs of who won those reps.
Pressure in team, because there was one where I thought Drake Maye stepped into it as much as he allowed the pressure.
There was one where I thought he got beat around his edge pretty good. But
okay, then we're talking about different ones.
I didn't really think... I was watching the line pretty closely, and I didn't really see much of it. There was another one where it looked like he went to go block the guy, and then the rusher slanted inside, and then he kicked out and blocked the blitzer coming off the edge, and he left the inside rusher to Travion Henderson. But if you watched it, it looked like Will Campbell whiffed. But I actually think he realized, like, mid-punch that was not his guy.
I know which play you're talking
about. And so he
yeah.
went and got the other guy, but it looked in the live viewing of it that he whiffed on the block.
Well,
but
so,
I don't think he actually did. And I actually been really encouraged about how well he picks up blitzes coming off of his edge. He's like really good at that, at seeing post snap when a guy is coming off the edge and blitzing like a slot blitz or a safety blitz is coming off the edge and sort of passing his guy off to the interior and going out and getting the blitzer. He's really good at that. I thought that he had a really nice block. I believe it was on Wise actually in the run game that sprung Travion Henderson for a nice gain. And I think they're going to consistently be able to stretch out that left side, whether it's on like a toss or outside zone or whatever the case may be, because they're going to have two great athletes over there with him and Wilson. So if they're going to run the ball left, I expect it to be to the perimeter left. Now, hopefully that doesn't become too predictable, but that would be my guess.
So I want to ask you something about Campbell, because this is something that, and you see this stuff better than me, but I feel like a big piece of growth for him through these first few weeks. Look, every tackle, every offensive lineman is going to get beat at some point. Even the greats will get beat. But what makes something that can make the greats is if you get beat initially, can you recover and mitigate it and maybe get beat, but it wasn't a blow by and you buy your quarterback an extra second, or even you recover entirely that you win the rep where you should have gotten beat. I feel like with Will Campbell, when he was getting beat early in camp, he was getting beat. That was it. It was clean. And he's getting beat less now. But I think the more encouraging thing for me is even when he does get beat, it feels like he's able to mitigate it now, whether that's just, again, buying that extra time, or he had a rep yesterday. I don't remember who it was against, but he had a rep yesterday where it looked like he was beat. The guy got in his chest, started pushing him back, and he just kind of sank his weight and basically gave the other guy, like, you want to go through me? Fine, go through me. Like, let's go. And he was just too strong for the guy to move him. So that's been the most encouraging thing for me for Campbell is, I don't want to say, like, I know this sounds kind of dumb. Oh, I'm encouraged because he's getting beat, not as bad, blah, blah, blah. But it's not that. It's that when he loses initially, right? When the first step goes to the defender, the rep's not over. Yep. Because he's doing a better job, especially on that outside in. Wise tried to get him on the outside in yesterday. I think got half a step on him. And Campbell kind of registered it, reset himself, and I think he came back and he ultimately won the rep, even though Wise had the first half step on him. He wasn't doing that at the beginning of camp. Yeah. When he was getting beat, he was just getting beat. And I feel like his recovery ability has gotten a lot better very quickly.
So you hit the nail on the head. Don't sell yourself short. You saw it, right? The biggest thing that I see with Will Campbell when I watch him in pass pro is because of his length. And I don't want to make it.
I know you don't want to go there because then it becomes a whole thing, but
it's really what it is. He is an aggressive setter. So some guys, and I say this all, I feel like a broken record, and I apologize, but it's just, this is what it really is, the bottom line of this. Some guys like Trent Brown is always the poster child for me of this, are so freaking big that they can just sit back in their chair and catch guys. They're just going to sit back, they're going to eclipse the quarterback, and they're going to let him come to me because they can't go through me. I'm too big. They can't go through me. So I'm just going to keep him at my fingertips, and I'm going to let him come to me, and I'm going to sit back in my chair, and I'm going to catch him like a baseball catcher would. Like, I'm literally going to catch him. Right? But with Will Campbell, because of his length, if he tries to sit back and be patient and let them come to him, they're going to consistently establish first contact because their arms are longer than his arms.
Right.
So in order to combat that, what Will Campbell does at times is he aggressively goes out and he tries to be the aggressor in the rep. The issue with being the aggressor in the rep as a tackle is that when you whiff on the punch, you get those ugly misses.
The blow-bys,
you get the blow-bys because you're over aggressive and you're getting your weight is getting distributed off balance, and then you're punching. And then if you don't land your punch, then he's going to blow right by you. And he has to figure this out in terms of, and it's on him. And I know that the coaches are helping him with it too, to strike that balance of playing within his limitation, but also understanding that you can still be a little bit more patient than what he has been at times to avoid those blow-bys. Jared Wilson, on the other hand, I think is fantastic at recovering when he misses his initial punch. I think that's still something that Campbell is maybe trying to work on a little bit, is how do I recover and keep my base and keep my
I feel like he's gotten
leverage.
better at it.
I think he has gotten better at it. And I think that I don't think that anything has truly changed other than him finding out what works, like finding that balance and striking that chord of how exactly am I going to play at this level with, we can call them 33-inch arms. With 33-inch arms.
They are 33-inch arms. What do you mean you call them 33-inch arms?
I know, but I didn't want to open this whole can of worms again.
Opening the can of worms is like suggesting you're lying. They are 33-inch arms. Say it with your chest because it is a fact. The NFL got the combine measurement wrong.
Here we go again. How do I play with that within that framework? And I think he has gotten better at it. And I'm encouraged by what I've seen in that respect. But I think that's his biggest issue is when he loses because of the way that he plays the position, the losses become ugly because of the fact that he's setting so aggressively. A lot of the time it's like a vertical set too, which is like inherently a hit or miss thing. And like the best vertical setters of all time are like Joe Thomas and like the great tackles, right? Like they were able to master the art of the vertical set and be able to do that consistently. And Joe Thomas didn't have quite as short arms as Will Campbell, but he was also on the shorter side of the spectrum in terms of arm length as well. So vertical setting was really important for him to master. So that's a technical aspect of it all. I thought you'd explained it great. I think that Will Campbell's getting better at it. I've seen him sort of also like anticipate those inside moves a little bit more because he knows that other opponents are going to try to attack that weakness. And so he's doing a little bit of a better job of sliding his feet and recovering to that inside move. I keep saying the same thing about Campbell. If I was him, I would just continue to trust your feet. Like he has a really smooth, great agility. He's a really good athlete. He's got great foot speed. Like just continue to trust that you can move your feet instead of punching and reaching and overextending. Just keep your base and just slide. You know, like a basketball player defending Jason Tatum out on the perimeter, right? Just slide your feet and stay in front of him that way. I think he's growing. Like he's getting better at that because this was the same thing at LSU. Like at LSU, you know, there was some ugly misses. Like there was some ugly whiffs in pass protection on his tape in college that a lot of people that were Will Campbell naysayers or detractors, you know, would cherry pick just like we would cherry pick the good reps, right? And they would cherry pick these reps. So it's a work in progress, but I think he's getting a little bit better at it. And I thought, again, what I think is interesting about him, and then I want to move on to Wilson, he is so much better in team than he is in one-on-ones.
Campbell?
Yeah, like Campbell's so much better in team than he is in one-on-ones.
People are going to say this is me just kind of, I don't know, making excuses for Campbell or being a Will Campbell fanboy or whatever. I'm kind of disillusioned with offensive defensive line one-on-ones in this camp. Because so many times tackles, or not just tackles, everybody has been beaten with inside moves where it's like, all right, if you go that far inside, like, yeah, you were able to get around them. If you go that far inside in a game, the guard's going to be there and you're just going to run into the guard. Like, I don't know. I feel like there's been too many of those in this camp for me. And maybe that was always the case. I'm watching it closer now because of Campbell. This is not just a Will Campbell take. I mean, I've always felt this way about like the wide receiver corner, right? It's kind of the same thing. We talk about those all the time where it's like
the offensive line, D-line ones are definitely more translatable to games.
I think they're more translatable, but again, like if you go all the way around inside, you're going to run into the guard. Like that space isn't there. Now, if they actually like, so when they do the 3-on-3s, because they do it in the same setting, but they do 3-on-3 instead of 1-on-1. That one I like. That one I can buy a little more. Or if they did the 1-on-1 and the guard actually stood there, like where he'd stand instead of just sort of getting out of the way. Like, I don't know. It's kind of like the 1-on-1s where it's like, all right, yeah, the wide receiver toasted the corner, but the corner was sitting underneath. He went over the top. And in the game, there's a safety there, and that's not actually like applicable. I just feel like there's been some of those moments.
Absolutely. I think the best thing about 1-on-1s is just working on technique and working on.
I'm sure they're.
My point is like, we chart wins and losses with one-on-ones, where I think more like when you practice them as a player, it's more important of like, there's like this thing that I need to work on. And so I'm going to work on it now.
When I say I'm disillusioned, I mean as an evaluation tool, not on the whole exercise itself. I understand the value.
Yeah, I was just explaining.
Yeah, I just like, again, I weigh 11 on, I always weighed 11 on 11 more. But I'm like, even the 7-on-7s in this camp have just been like, I get why they do them and they're important to do, and I understand that. My evaluation is based almost exclusively in 11s. I'm really not looking at much else of what goes on. The one thing I'll look at one-on-ones is like just play power, right?
Right.
Can you just physically
anchor? Yeah.
Right, anchor.
So with Jared Wilson, I want to talk about him a little bit. I just continue to just be wowed by Jared Wilson. Like, he's just, as Caden Wallace put, he's just really freaking good. Like, and you see that now. Look,
that's not exactly what Caden Wallace said.
I know, but I have to be a little bit more PG than that. I got into it a little bit with Paul about this the other day on PU, because I was already ready to anoint Jared Wilson as an NFL starter and just be like done with it, right? Yeah. And he's, let's wait and see. Let's see what the whole season looks like and all that kind of stuff. And I suppose that is fair. But when you're, going up against Daron Payne, in a joint practice, and Daron Payne tries to like speed to power bull and just like go right into your chest, and Jared Wilson just stops him stone cold and like doesn't move an inch. Like, it's hard to not be like, this is guy can play, right? Like, this guy is pretty freaking good. As Caden Wallace said, we talked a lot about, and you brought it up with Campbell, the recovery talent. That to me is Jared Wilson's best trait. His ability to keep his feet and keep his base, and then refit the hands, like if his initial punch gets swatted, because a lot of what I see a lot with pass rushers in the one-on-ones, especially, they try to swat his hands out of the way, like two-hand swipe, and like they'll swat his hands, and he just has this ability to just like be patient, keep his base about him, move his feet to recover, and then refit the hands back underneath the shoulder blades, the chest pad, and like he just does that and just gets his hands underneath the guy and wins the rep. And it's incredible to watch a rookie. It's not so much like the movement, like the movement's obviously incredible, but it's the hand fighting to me, like the chess match of it. He thinks it, like he's already processing the game at a really high level. That is beyond what most rookies, especially with his little experience, do at this level. And I wonder, when I was talking to his coaches and Duke Manyweather, when I wrote the feature about him after the draft, Duke pointed out a really good thing that I don't know if we put enough stock into. Think about the defensive tackles in Georgia practice that Jared Wilson had faced on the scout team.
That's iron sharpens iron.
So he was on the scout team the first 2 years that he was at Georgia, and he was facing the starting defense for Georgia in practice every single day.
I think, don't people bring this up with Patrick Surtain at Alabama?
Probably.
With like the receivers that he faced.
So he's going up against Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis and like all these stud Georgia defensive tackles that we've seen come out of the draft the last couple of years. So he really, even though he wasn't game experienced at Georgia, he was kind of like battle tested in a lot of ways from those practices. And I see that, like I see him being wise beyond his years in those respects. So Paul, I don't know how it's going to look for 17 games, right? We might be getting ahead of ourselves a little bit of putting Jared Wilson into the Patriots Hall of Fame. Like, I heard that they chiseled a statue that's going to go right next to Brady's statue that they're going to unveil tomorrow night of Campbell and Jared Wilson. But Jared Wilson, I just have been blown away by how cerebral and like advanced he is as a blocker for this point in his career, and how young he is. He's like 22 years old, and he's already got all these nuances to the position down. So I'm really impressed with Wilson. Continued to be, thought he was good yesterday. The one guy that I thought had a little bit of a rough practice was Garrett Bradbury at center.
And he was rotating too.
This is becoming a little bit of a competition, I would say, between him and Ben Brown. And I'm really curious to see. We probably won't really get a feel for this tomorrow night in the preseason game, but once we get into the joint practices next week in Minnesota, where I'll be with Deuce next week, that is going to be really interesting to see if they start cutting into Garrett Bradbury's starter reps at center with Ben Brown. And at what point, I know you don't want to keep, and I'm with you on the whole shuffling with the rookies and stuff like that. I think at this point, Jared Wilson's probably locked into left guard, and that's where they're going to play him. But is there any, do you think about it, like moving him over one spot if it really goes south with Bradbury?
Do you think they locked Jared Wilson at left guard so early because they believe that's his best position, or because they didn't trust him at center? Because remember, he had a couple bad snaps there.
I think it's a combination of both. I think they like the experience that Bradbury brings to center that Wilson obviously wouldn't.
Yeah.
I think it helps a young quarterback to have an experienced center, and I think that's the thought. But if Bradbury can't hold up, he can't hold up.
So I'm still where I'm at, where I've been at with one addendum. If you believe Jared Wilson's your long-term center, I don't see a ton of value in playing him at left guard this year. Like, if you believe he's your long-term center and like him and Bradbury are essentially a wash, or he's better than Bradbury, right? I don't see a ton of value in playing him at left guard this year just to get Bradbury in there for the veteran. Like Wilson's a smart guy. He'll learn, he'll pick it up. I don't necessarily worry about that. Also, you can probably get a veteran in at left guard who can help him. The one addendum is if he can't snap the ball, he can't snap the ball. If you can't get it back to the quarterback, you can't play center. I don't care who you are.
Right.
So if they're worried about his snaps, leave him at guard. And maybe leave him at guard long term at that point. Because he hasn't been working on his snaps now that he's been at guard so much. So he hasn't even really had a chance to work on that, which gets to the development thing.
But I think the advantage of playing him as a rookie at guard with the long-term plan of him playing center is just getting the game experience.
I guess, but he's still gonna have to learn center.
Yeah, but you're still getting in-game experience, and you're still blocking the same people.
But he could do that at center too.
Right, but at center you brought up snapping, but then there's also the mental aspect. Of
so
it.
He's gonna have to learn that eventually.
Yep.
I'd rather he learn it sooner and just get accustomed to it.
That's fair. I just think that as a rookie...
But if he can't snap the ball, he can't snap the ball.
I just wonder if the thought process is for his rookie year. At left guard, he's going to have a gap or a guy in front of him. You just block that dude, and it's a one-line thinking, right? Like you're not thinking about, oh, who's the mic? Oh, where's this blitz coming from? Are we in the right protection? Are we in the right run fit? We're not thinking about it. We're not thinking about snapping. We're literally just taking our gap, or we're taking our man, and we're blocking that guy.
Then what are you doing? Like, I don't know. We don't need to get ahead to the offseason, but just like, I think if you think he's a center, play him at center. If you think he's a guard, play him at guard. If he can't snap the ball, he's probably a guard. If you think he can snap the ball and it was just rough, you got to give him opportunities to work on it and get better. That's where I'm at with it.
So with Bradbury,
I've said this. Like, I think Ben Brown's a fine player. If he's your fifth best offensive lineman, and we could argue whether he would or wouldn't be in this alignment, if Ben Brown's your fifth best offensive lineman, you're okay. You're okay. You're not great, but you're okay. You're fine. He'll do enough for you, I think. I think Garrett Bradbury can be that guy too, or I think he was that guy. He's taken a step back the last 2 years. If he keeps backtracking, and Ben Brown's a young guy. Last year was his first year of experience, so he comes in now the whole other year of his belt. I've been telling you guys not to sleep on Ben Brown. Like, I would be okay if Ben Brown's their week one starting center. I'd rather it be Jared Wilson, but I'd be okay if it's Ben Brown.
I like Ben Brown's size. I think that's the big thing that stands out to him, is that he's a bigger center compared to Bradbury. So he just takes up more space, and he's harder to move and all that good stuff. And that alone at a position like center can be helpful, just because it's really, that's what it is, right? Like, it's just, don't get pressed back into the pocket.
Right.
And so if he can do that, then that's helpful. Now with Bradbury specifically, I just saw him and Eddie Goldman. I had to look it up. I forgot who the freaking Commander's nose tackle is, but Eddie Goldman's like a veteran nose tackle. He's a solid rotational run stuffer, exactly what you think of in your prototypical NFL nose tackle. And I just thought, in one-on-ones and then a little bit in team, you just see Bradbury on skates. Like, you see him trying to, like your point earlier, like trying to put his feet in the ground and anchor. And it's not that he's losing these reps in a hurry. It's that after like the second or third step, he starts to get pushed back and starts to strain and isn't able to put his feet in the ground and drop anchor. That's the concern with him now. On the one hand, like, I don't see him getting like blown by in pass protection.
You don't really get blown by as a center,
but he's getting overpowered, which is center. Like, if he can't take the nose tackle and put his feet in the ground and dig in and anchor against NFL caliber nose tackles, then it's hard to survive at center with that.
It goes back to my point about the one-on-ones. Like, you can't really run around a center.
Yeah.
That's not something, if that occurs, other people screw it up.
Right.
Right. So I will say one more thing on Ben Brown, though.
Yep.
And we haven't even mentioned Cole Strange to this point. Them playing Ben Brown at guard is not good news for Cole Strange. Because what this is going to come down to, Evan, if we can do a little mini roster projection sort of thing here.
Yeah.
There's kind of been a clear line of demarcation between the linemen they're going to keep and the linemen they aren't going to keep, right? So you're starting 5 if everybody's healthy. Campbell, Moses, Wilson, Onwenu, and we'll say Bradbury for now, right?
Okay.
So that's your starting 5. They're going to keep Marcus Bryant the way they've been using him.
Encouraged by Marcus Bryant.
They're going to keep Marcus Bryant the way they've been using him. They're going to keep Caden Wallace the way they've been using him. It's either going to be DeMontre Jacobs or maybe they go out and they get a true left tackle during waivers because they don't have a real backup left tackle right now. Maybe it's Marcus Bryant. Maybe it's not TBD.
It's not Vidarian Lowe.
Well, has he even repped with the second unit yet?
No, but I'm just saying left tackle. Like I'm with everybody that he can't.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Sides.
Out of sight, out of mind. Can't make the club from the top.
Okay.
Vidarian Lowe. Or Vidarian, fine. So they're going to keep left tackle TBD.
Okay.
DeMontre Jacobs, Vidarian Lowe, if a waiver signing something.
I think you only need one of those two guys. I don't think you need both because I think at this point Marcus Bryant's shown enough that he should
you
make
think
it.
so?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe this changes my take. But Campbell, Moses, Wilson, Onwenu, Bradbury, Bryant, Caden Wallace.
Yeah.
I still think they're keeping another tackle. That's 8. So now you're at 9. It's basically Ben Brown and Cole Strange for the last spot in my mind. And
I agree with that.
The advantage Cole Strange had in that matchup is Ben Brown was exclusively a center.
Yeah.
And Cole Strange maybe wasn't a great center, but he played it and he could play guard and center. Well, now if Ben Brown can also play guard and center, and they're both left guard center hybrids, now it's just a sprint to the finish who's a better player. It might be Ben Brown.
Oh, boy.
Am I wrong?
No, but that's just such a tough
I know.
I hate doing that normally.
I don't want to pick on him, but like, when I say who's a better player, who's been better in this camp so far?
Yeah, Ben Brown.
It's close.
I thought Cole Strange had a rough day yesterday.
It's close, and I don't think that I'm not slamming that shut. Maybe Cole Strange comes out and is awesome tomorrow, and we're reopening the conversation. But the advantage Cole Strange had was positional versatility, right? Maybe Ben Brown can't play guard. Maybe he sucks at it, and then that changes it. But like,
he's got the body type.
If he comes out here tomorrow, Ben Brown plays a really good left guard. I mean, are you keeping Cole Strange as a 9th lineman?
No.
Right. So that's kind of and this is for like this show take, right? Ben Brown getting reps backup left guard is actually kind of a big deal when it comes to the roster because it puts Cole Strange on the bubble where otherwise he might not have been there.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you on that.
I guess the caveat would be the same thing I said for Jarrett Wilson. If Ben Brown outright wins the center job and Garrett Bradbury doesn't want to be here as a backup, well, now Cole Strange is your backup center.
So
not Ben Bradbury, Garrett Bradbury doesn't want to be
I know what you meant. I'm with you 100% with that. That is exactly how I took the Ben Brown at left guard thing at practice the other day. Was they're trying to see if he can play guard too? Because if you're going to make the team as a backup, and especially if you're going to be active on game day as a top interior backup, you have to be able to play all 3 positions.
Yeah.
Because normally you're not going to have 2 backup interior offensive linemen active on game day. Normally they just go with 1. So if you're going to do that, then you have to be able to play all 3 spots. So they're trying to see if Ben Brown can play guard so that if he's the top backup on game day, they know that he can play all 3 spots.
And even if they have 2, like I think they're going to have this weird setup where Caden Wallace is going to be like a backup right guard, right tackle.
I actually think that that's a great idea for Caden Wallace. And I know that we all sort of thought because of where he was drafted, you hoped that he could become a starter. But if you drafted like a 2-position backup that's a top backup at 2 different positions, and he ends up being like a guard tackle flex who's right side player primarily. It's not ideal for a top 100 pick, but it's not the worst case scenario. Like that, at least you got like a good like 6th or 7th offensive lineman out of the pick. I could live with it. It wasn't like he was drafted 4th overall, like Will Campbell, right? Like you can live with that being Caden Wallace's career path. I want to talk about Marcus Bryant because I'm getting more and more encouraged about Marcus Bryant. And I'm going to give this take today.
I did not think he had a great day yesterday.
So I'm going to give this take today.
Okay.
And then tomorrow he's going to play a ton in the preseason game, and we'll see how it goes. How about that? Because we'll see. Like, he's going to play a ton tomorrow. We know that. All these rookies are probably going to play a little bit. And especially the back of the draft rookies like Marcus Bryant, who's drafted in the 7th round, I expect to see a lot of him. And I'm excited to see what it looks like on tape, because I feel like his pass protection has been pretty decent when he's out there at right tackle. The thing that I like so much about Marcus Bryant is his flexibility. We were just talking about this with the guards. He played left tackle in college opposite Armand Membu at Missouri, and now they're training him to play right tackle. So we know
he started at right tackle for a year and a half in college at SMU before he transferred to Missouri.
So we know he can play both.
He might be a true swing tackle.
And if he's a true swing tackle, that's a home run pick.
That's tremendous value.
Yeah, if you drafted a swing tackle, if you drafted the next like Adrian Waddle.
I love Adrian Waddle.
In the 7th round, great pick.
Yeah.
Great pick. And I'm hoping that that's what they got out of Marcus Bryant. But you thought he had a little bit of a rough day yesterday.
Yeah, I thought he got blown by a couple times. I thought he got blown by a couple times. Demontre Jacobs didn't have a good day either. I just thought the backup tackles as a whole. I'm worried about their tackle depth overall.
Well, that's why I'm worried about it too, and that's why I'm sort of hoping that this thing with Marcus Bryant sticks, because he looks to me based off the practices, I think he's already cleared Demontre Jacobs.
Yes.
Which I understand that's not the bar, but for a backup, that is kind of the bar.
Yes, he's the top backup. If you drafted him to be your backup tackle, he's cleared the bar.
Yeah.
He's a rookie, and there's inherent unknowns that come with that. And after him, especially on the left side, because when they drafted him, we all thought he was a right tackle.
Yep.
Right? We all thought, all right, maybe he's a long-term project behind Morgan Moses. Maybe he becomes that backup swing tackle, but like he profiles like a right tackle in the Patriots system. So you look at that, and it's like, okay, who like Evan today? Who's their backup left tackle?
I still think it's probably Vidarian Lowe in a vacuum.
So it's the guy who's done 3 practices all with the 3rd team.
Yeah,
who wasn't good last year.
He was not good last year.
Right. So they don't have a backup left tackle.
They don't. This comes
So
back.
if it's Bryant, that's great. After that pipeline dries. Like
sure, but
and they can still claim somebody on waivers. But
I think the one thing I would just say to kind of play devil's advocate to that, how many teams have 4 good tackles?
All right, that's fair.
How many teams have 2 good tackles?
No, very few. But when you have a 34-year-old on one side and a rookie on the other,
it's a fair concern. But I would say that is my concern with the entire team.
If Marcus Bryant, I have depth concerns about a lot of positions. That's fair. If Marcus Bryant can be like Adrian Waddle, I'm with you. Like, great. That'd be great. That'd be excellent. That would be okay. If you need him to spot start for Morgan Moses in a couple games, great. He can fill in on both sides whenever you need him. He allows you to carry. You don't have to carry 4 tackles. You can just carry 3. And really, like, you will still have a backup right tackle in Caden Wallace, even if he's counted as a guard. So you're going to have 3.5 tackles, which would be fine. He just needs to be able to play a little bit on the left side.
Yeah. There you go.
The whole, all right, well, if Armand Membu couldn't be moved and he's so good at right, well, why don't they just draft the guy that was on the left side instead? Maybe there was something to that whole thing.
He is the exact type of offensive lineman that if you're a line coach, you want to work with. He's 6'7", 310 pounds with really, really high-end athleticism.
Yeah.
So if you can just teach him the position and coach him up on technique and all that good stuff, he's got all of the tools in the world and from a physical standpoint to be a serviceable NFL tackle. They just got to get him there. They just got to coach him up. And hopefully with this coaching staff, they have the coaching that can do that. With Marone and the 17 offensive line coaches that they have now, like hopefully they can get guys to that point. Hopefully we're back in a world where, Adrian Waddle or, Cam Fleming or whatever, like that's back in play. Like they can develop those kinds of players again. That's the hope. And I see that maybe happening before our eyes a little bit with Marcus Bryant.
Well, that's encouraging.
So that's the offensive line. I want to talk about receivers, and I promise we are going to talk a little bit about defense as well. But I want to talk about the receivers, and then I want to take some calls because I know these people have been waiting for a while.
Can I start on the receivers?
Yes, you can.
You owe me an apology.
I owe you an apology?
Yes.
About what?
I gave a take 3 days into camp.
You gave a take.
I gave a take.
Yeah.
That, hey, by the way, it wasn't a loud take. It wasn't a banging the table take.
Well, now you're going to say it with your chest, so say it with your chest.
I said at the time Javon Baker was having a good start to camp.
You did, and everybody made fun of you.
And I got laughed at.
Well,
And
I wasn't on the show that laughed at you.
No,
to be
you came
fair.
up to me after and laughed at me.
Yeah.
And you texted me and you laughed at me. And I still don't know whether or not Javon Baker's making.
Everybody's just laughing at
I still
Alex.
don't know whether or not Javon Baker's making the team.
Yeah.
But he's a hell of a lot closer than he was at the start of camp. I'll tell you that.
So I wanted to go big picture on the receivers for a second, and then go little picture again. So let's zoom out for a second, and we can get to your Javon Baker take.
I'm just saying, you spent 3 years doing taekwondo. It never caught on. I just sort of off the cuff give one Javon Baker take.
And everybody roasted you for it. I'll give you that.
They're doing taekwondo in Kansas City, by the way.
So, this is what taekwondo does.
This is enamored with taekwondo in Kansas City.
This is taekwondo's time to shine.
Yes.
This isn't real football. This is taekwondo's time to shine. OTAs in training camp is like Taekwon Thornton might as well be Randy freaking Moss at this time of year. Like,
as long
this
as
is
he's
it.
not hurt.
Yeah, this is what he does. And then he'll land on his collarbone trying to catch a pass, and he'll get hurt, and he'll be out for 6 weeks. This is what taekwondo does. Back to the receivers that are currently on the Patriots roster. The question that I have with you at wide receiver, because I've been on some shows over the last couple of weeks. I was in your spot yesterday on the crossover podcast on my old stomping grounds on CLNS. There's some buzz building for this wide receiver room, that this wide receiver room might actually be legit, not just competent, but might actually be legit. Like, I feel like there's people that are now starting to come out of the woodwork and say, maybe we should start rating this Patriots wide receiver room a little bit with a little bit more respect. Like, where are you on that? Because it's better than it's been, and there's no doubt about that. But I might not be ready to all of a sudden start talking about like this is like a top half of the league wide receiver room, or wherever you want to put that. You understand what I'm getting at? Because I feel like we're starting to get into that category.
So here's the thing. I think we're done with the conversation about are they like the worst room in the league, right? Or are they bottom 5? We got a really good example of just how far they've come. That Commanders wide receiver room blows.
Okay, well, Terry McLaurin.
They don't have Terry McLaurin right now.
Well, he will be out there.
Everybody else besides him, nobody got open yesterday. Or Zach Ertz did.
Yeah.
None of their wide. Did they have one instance of a receiver getting separation with the first team with the Patriots' top 2 corners out?
Yeah, I mean, they had they have like I think he's a UDFA that they're all pretty high on. He mossed Marcus Jones at one point.
This sounds like us. Oh, the UDFA mossed the 5'8" corner. There's hope.
Yeah.
We've been in those shoes, right?
Yeah.
But
I got clipped for making fun of the Commanders receiver room, so I'm going to be careful.
The point being, like, we're not there anymore. Are they the best room in the league? No. Are they the worst room in the league? Definitely not. I think it's a representative room. Stephon Diggs, if he is truly as healthy as he looks, right? Stephon Diggs raises the level of that, and that's important. But I got to give. So I wanted an apology from you. Here's where I'll give an apology.
Okay.
I was down on Kayshon Boutte because, and you guys have heard me give this spiel before, like the consistency was not there, and I just didn't think he was going to get there. I just thought it was going to be flashes, and that was it, and he was going to be this fringy player. He hasn't had necessarily some of those apex high point flashes. I guess he has the last couple days, but like at the beginning of camp, he didn't have these like unbelievable plays, like the jaw-dropping plays, but he was getting open, and he was catching 2 to 3 passes a day, and he was just constantly involved. And that's what I needed to see from him. I know the high-level stuff is there, but that's not going to be every play. Are you still able to find ways to contribute between it? And that's what he really didn't. I'll throw out his first year because he essentially got benched for the whole year. That's what he didn't do last year. When he wasn't making unbelievable plays, he wasn't making any plays. He wasn't just making an okay play. And he's made a ton of okay, solid, move the chains plays in this camp. And if you're going to be a guy that's going to be on the field 60, 65, at least that % of the time, which is what it looks like the role is that's in store for him, you have to be able to do that. You have to be able to move the chains as well as take the top off down the field. And he's done that. So Stephon Diggs being healthy, Kayshon Boutte showing some tremendous consistency. Mac Hollins has kind of popped here the last couple days. Like, the floor is so much higher. I don't know if the ceiling's that much higher compared to where it's been. The floor is so much higher because of Diggs and Boutte mainly, and I'll throw Mac Hollins in there as well.
That's a good way of putting it. I still don't know if the ceiling is astronomically high in terms of the top end talent in the room. Like, Diggs is a good player. I'm excited about Diggs. I've said a million times I think he's going to catch 100 passes this year.
Pops looked awesome.
Yeah, and I want to get to Pop in a second, but I still am not sure without Kyle Williams, who's been a little bit quiet. If Kyle Williams had come in here and started and just was tearing up camp and looked like the steal of the draft, he looked like Glad McConkey, right? Then maybe I would sit here and say, okay, I feel like the ceiling is a little bit higher. What I definitely agree with you on, and I thought you put it well, the floor of this room is much higher than it has been the last couple of years, which is encouraging. The one guy that I feel like has really blown me away, though, is Pop. Like, I've just been extremely impressed with how at home he looks in the slot in this offense. And we always knew that the slot produced in this offense. And I guess it was maybe me not giving him enough credit. But he even talked about it, and I asked him about it after practice the other day. Just what do you attest to the mental growth in your game? And he said that he studied. Like, he studied harder and he focused, and he studied harder. And it's not, I never had any reservations about Pop Douglas, the separator, or like Pop Douglas, the athletic ability that he brings to the table. I think he's a weapon. I think he's athletic. I think he's bursty. I think he's quick. I think he can separate. What I just didn't know about was he going to be able to grasp the nuances to expand beyond what is essentially like, a pseudo gadget player, right? And he has, to his credit, he has. You look it up last year, he's at 66 catches for like just over 600 yards. He was under 10 yards per catch. I thought that maybe that was what he was capable of. And watching him in this training camp, I'm starting to think that maybe there's more there, that he has another level that he can reach. Sanders still is a good nickel. Like, he's a good slot corner. And Pop Douglas had that man in hell yesterday. Like, he was torching Sanders still for most of that practice. And I know Sanders still gets the pick at the end, so he kind of gets the last laugh.
Bobby Wagner made that play.
But Bobby Wagner made the play.
Yeah, nothing against Sanders still.
And Sanders still was dusted at the line of scrimmage again by Pop Douglas on that play and just got lucky that the ball deflected in the air right to him. So I felt like, especially early on in this practice, that Pop Douglas had him in the torture chamber. Like, he was in the freaking hurricane. And Douglas has come a long way in terms of the nuances, like understanding where the space is, where the options are in the route. How do I get open against man? How do I settle against zone? How do I make myself available as quickly as possible to the quarterback as a target? And you just see the quick hitters are just McDaniels vintage McDaniels, Edelman, Welker vintage McDaniels. So I guess after all of that glazing, my question is about with Pop, like, how statistically, like, how high truly is this ceiling? Like,
he's got to stay healthy. That's my big question with Pop. That's been my question with Pop as long as he's here. I've always believed he can be, a real offensive threat, maybe not in a volume sense. I've said this. I don't think he's a high volume player, and they might not need him to be. I think that's Diggs in this offense. But anytime the ball is in his hands, it can be a touchdown from anywhere on the field, from multiple routes.
I just wonder, like, what...
Because he just has to stay healthy.
He's got to stay healthy, but, like, is there a volume level for him? Like, because realistically, he was, like I said, he's a 60, 65 catch guy as he was.
I stand by, like, I think he should be on the field in 11. I think he's a part of your offense in base 11. When you go into 12 or 21, he's probably the guy I'm taking off the field.
Yeah.
So that limits him a little bit.
Yeah.
But I still think those plays where he's on the field, he can be tremendously impactful. So, things I'll be looking at with him, he's not, like, total catches is not going to be what I'm looking at with him. It's going to be, yards.
Can he get that yards per catch?
Yards per catch. I think yards after the catch is a big number with him. I think, what percent of his catches go for first downs. That could be a number where I think he could be one of the, where he could lead the team, be one of the better receivers in the league. Maybe not total first downs, percentage of catches for first downs, that kind of thing. Again, I don't think he's your volume guy. I don't think you need him to be your volume guy, which is fine. I think I've said this before. Everybody wants to, because he's small and he lines up in the slot, everybody wants to comp him to Julian Edelman. But
when different kind of player.
Right. When Julian Edelman was getting 120 targets and getting the crap beat out of him, Danny Amendola, with his speed, and he was faster than people realize, is taking off down the field. Or maybe Chris Hogan's a better comp for this. He's not small, but like Chris Hogan's taking off down the field and using his speed to create separation and cashing in on defenses collapsing down to take away that volume guy. That's what I think Pop's role is. He's not Edelman. That might end up being Diggs, honestly, the way they draw this thing up. or it could even be Mac Hollins. He could be like a Jacoby Myers type. I think Douglas is the guy that when they bring that safety closer to the line, or when they go single high to get somebody extra in the box, because you're running the ball well, establishing the run, or because you just keep hitting Stephon Diggs on these 5-yard hitches and these 7-yard ins, and all right, we got to bring somebody down. Well, now that's when you send Pop up, or that's when you do some sort of screen or end around and get him out on the perimeter and get him isolated one-on-one on a tackler, and he can make something explosive happen. That's the role I think he's going to thrive in.
So I think that that's a role that I thought that he was going to thrive in. This camp, he's just been so good. And I just wonder, is there I think the better comp would probably be like Troy Brown, Deion Branch level to Pop Douglas, because he's not Edelman or Welker. Like those guys.
Branch might be a better one.
I think the biggest thing about...
But those guys were like the number one receiver.
But I think the biggest thing about Edelman and Pop and what's different between the two of them is Edelman was built like a running back. Like Edelman was like...
Dense.
And
Pop's faster. Pop is more straight line speed.
Right.
Like,
but Edelman was just a dense dude that could take those hits over the middle of the field. Welker the same way, but Edelman more so. Edelman was like an MMA fighter. Like that guy was chiseled. So like he had that ability. I don't know if Pop has that ability, but can they kind of like, does his separation lend itself to so much space that like he can just kind of get into yak mode and get away from the traffic? Or B, does he learn that like Deion Branch sixth sense, like when to duck down, when to know the journey is over, to like avoid the big hits?
I don't want him to do. When I say I don't want him to do that, I want him to take care of himself. I want him to stay healthy. But like, he's so good after the catch. I don't want him to lose that. Now, there's a fine line.
It probably wouldn't be all the time.
He kept fumbling his rookie year because he was trying to extend plays too much. But like, I don't want him becoming Tyler Lockett. And I know that's an extreme example, but his best, I think he's best when the ball's in his hands. That's what's crazy about him having this good camp. You really don't do yak in camp. He's more of a threat to me after the catch than before it. So I don't want him being a guy that has to worry about protecting himself and giving up opportunities after the catch. That's where I want him thriving. That's where I want him really creating.
See, I guess I don't disagree that that's a strength of his game. I think his separation ability is the best part of his game.
Oh, see, I think it's after the catch. I still go back, like, that game he had in Dallas. Do you remember that? And I think Mac Jones threw like 3 picks in that game, so you throw that one aside. But, like, remember that one up the sideline where he hits the half juke, backspin, like...
Yep.
He looks like Tyreek Hill on that plane. I'm not saying he's Tyreek Hill, but he looks like Tyreek Hill on that
I've heard him compared to Dollar Store Tyreek Hill before.
Like I want him doing Day 3's A, right? Day 3's A Flowers.
Yeah.
I want him doing that sort of stuff. That's what I want him doing. That's where I think he's at his best.
I think his separation is his best. Where like they're both good traits of his. But I just wonder. I wonder what the volume where we can get to.
We should ask him volume. This would be fun. We should do like Catch-22. See if we can grab him real quick after practice and pop.
What's your best trait?
We both Pop. We both think you're very good, but we had a little argument. Do you think you're at your best before the catch or after the catch?
It's a good question.
I'm curious what he thinks.
I don't know, Matt, if they'll give Catch-22 a guest. I think that's
we can go do it at practice. We can go to him. He doesn't have to come in here.
I guess I'll get you a guest.
All right. Well, maybe we'll do that because we both like Pop. We've all loved Pop since the beginning. Well, I don't want to give us credit for discovering Pop Douglas, but I don't want to not give us credit for discovering Pop Douglas because we might have discovered Pop Douglas.
From a media sense, we were some of the first people talking about it.
I'm going to pat ourselves on the back for a second with this, and then I want to move on.
Yeah.
So Alex and I covered the Shrine Bowl that Pop Douglas was in. That was 2022, 23, because Bill O'Brien was hired. Yeah. So 2023. And we use the site, a very good site, Mock Draft Database. They do a really good job of compiling like all of the experts' opinions on the draft and where everybody is. And Pop Douglas, there was other reporters there. I'm not going to give us the lone credit, but we were the ones that were really covering those practices with a big platform. Like we were doing it here on Patriots.com. It was a good sized platform. And Pop Douglas's projection was that he's going to go undrafted, and he wasn't really on
the 700 something player in the
wasn't
draft.
Really on anybody's radar. And Mock Draft Database has a line chart where it shows like the trajectory of a player, whether it's stock up, down, up, down of his stock. And as after the Shrine Bowl, after Alex and I discovered this jitterbug receiver out of Liberty, his line graph went from like all the way down here to like all the way up there.
He went from like 7-something to like the 310 something like that.
Yeah.
He ended up around 250.
Yeah.
I went on with Tom Kern when we were there, and I said, he was like, "Who'd you see?" I'm like, because the whole big thing was Zay Flowers was there.
Yes.
And Zay Flowers was supposed to be the story, and I was like, "Well, Zay Flowers didn't practice, but if that's what you want, let me tell you about." And then there was another guy because you kept getting them mixed up from Jackson State.
Dallas Daniels
from
Jackson State, and
it's another like small shifty guy.
It was like 3 tiers, and we made that was when the nickname Day 3 Zay became a thing with Pop Douglas. It was like Zay Flowers was there, and he was the day 1 version of this archetype. Then Pop Douglas was there.
Keep going.
And he was like the day 3 version of this archetype. And then Dallas Daniels was there, and he was like the UDFA version of this archetype. And it was those 3 guys, and they all were playing the same role.
Who's the day 2 guy again?
Well, I don't think there was. Well, Josh Downs was the day 2 guy, but he wasn't there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Dallas Daniels?
Yeah.
Massachusetts Pirates.
No way.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
There you go. He was on the Broncos at one point.
So that's Pop Douglas. We discovered Pop Douglas. I'm giving us credit for that.
From a media standpoint.
Yeah, of course. Like he discovered him.
I mean,
like,
we'll give Eric Galco credit, right?
Yeah, true. That's fair. Give Eric the credit.
We were responsible for bringing him to the mainstream. We're like the guys like we didn't start the band, we didn't create the band, but we were the ones who like went to some random concert in a dingy bar one night, saw this band that rocked, and then went out and told everybody, "Hey, you got to listen to this band," and then the band blows up.
We started the fire.
What?
We started the fire.
Sure.
There you go. All right, let's get to the phones.
We didn't even do defense yet.
I know, but they've been waiting for over an hour.
Well, cover the whole team, Evan. Quick take. You know I'm always rushing to the phones.
I'm going to get to the defense after that.
Okay,
all right, let's see if these guys are still holding. What's up, Sean in Vancouver? How we doing?
Good. I have a couple of things. So with the offensive line, not that I'm saying they will be, but if they're the worst offensive line in the league again, they'll still be, and I guarantee it, a lot better than last year. Last year, they had 4 players who probably don't even make an NFL roster, and their one player that was their best offensive lineman, he had a down year. So, yeah, it's going to be better. And I mean, not to say that it's going to be in the top half, but it'll be better than it was. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is, sorry, I just have to catch my breath for a second. Yeah.
Be careful out there, Sean.
Yeah, no, I'm on my way to a fitting for Audacity, so I'm walking along this big street. Sorry about the traffic. Yeah. Well, the other thing I wanted to tell you, and not to talk about other podcasts, but I was listening to this fantasy podcast about fantasy football, and they made me feel the best about the Patriots that I've felt in years. Like, they have this thing called Ice and Fire, and they had 2 ice players. They had Drake Maye, and their other ice player you've been talking about was Pop Douglas. So it just made me feel so much better about this team. So I'll leave you on that.
Thanks for the call, Sean. Be safe out there, Sean.
Yes.
Don't be dodging traffic to talk to us. So I've said this before, but I'll say it again. This is the first time since I've actually been professionally covering the team that the Patriots have fantasy relevant players.
Well, but they do and they don't, because Josh McDaniels inherently makes all his players fantasy irrelevant because he's such a game plan coach.
Okay, but like you're drafting Diggs.
Yeah, Diggs is probably
You're drafting Hunter Henry because tight end's not deep.
Yeah,
you're drafting Hunter Henry.
That's fair.
And I'm not like they've
been fantasy relevant though.
Like running back wise, they've had some fantasy relevant running backs over the years.
Only in PPR.
I don't know if I'm touching running backs right now at the Patriots, but
maybe Henderson late. If you're in a PPR league, I'd get
wide
Henderson
receiver
late.
Having a relevant player like Stephon Diggs, and
so that's fantasy relevant wide receivers. Yes,
maybe Pop Douglas too. Maybe I think the Pop Douglas thing with fantasy that's going to hurt him is the touchdowns. Like I don't think he's going to have the touchdown production to be super fantasy relevant, but maybe I guess Prime Edelman was probably fantasy relevant. So like 18, 19, maybe we covered some teams in that range that had Patriot fantasy players that were relevant at wide receiver, but you might have to go all the way back to Brandon Cooks in 2017 to like,
right.
Because Edelman was always just the slot machine, right? Like he wasn't a big touchdown guy or really a big fantasy producer, but yeah, it's a good time right now that they're finally turning the curve in that sort of respect. All right. Patty is in Agawam. What's up, Patty?
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Hey.
Good.
I got to apologize. I'm sorry for tasking you with what I tasked you with yesterday.
I got him the shirt.
I got to ask. No, I appreciate it.
Patty gave me a
Though,
Pepsi Polo to give to Paul.
Nice.
I think I gave it to Mike and made Mike do it, but
That's
Put it on Paul's desk.
There
okay,
you go.
cool. All right,
Nice.
there you go, Patty.
Nice. If you'd like I said, if you want one for like golfing, I'll send one to the studio for you, buddy. But one of my big takeaways from yesterday was I don't think this team is going to lack effort at all this coming year, especially after Vrabel jumped in the pile during the skirmish. And just
Football guy.
A question for you guys: Do you think that like we might actually have like a real NFL team this year? Because I don't know what the hell what we watched these last 2 seasons, but it wasn't NFL football.
Yeah, thanks for the call,
It's a
Patty.
representative group, and you're absolutely right about the effort. They love their coach.
So, is that the question that I have that I keep coming back to with what Patty just said? Because I'm with him. Like, is that the bar for this year? Like, are you happy as a Patriot fan this year if the bar is just, yep, that was an NFL season. Like, we had football season.
2 check boxes for me. We've been over this. 2 check boxes for me. Week 18 is a meaningful game.
So we had a football season.
So, well, no, there's 2 parts to this. Week 18 is a meaningful game.
Yes.
And meaningful for the playoffs, not the draft, not like last year, right? If they, need help week 18 and they win, but another team wins that they need to lose, fine, whatever. There's a caveat to that, though. They have to be better at the end of the year than they are at the beginning. Or at least very level the whole way through. They can't start 5-4 and finish 6-11. Right? They can't do one of those things. Because even go back to the end of Bill, they've been falling apart at the end of seasons. So week 18 matters, and it matters because you built as the season went on. You were better at the end than you were at the beginning. So those are my 2. And Drake Maye doesn't turn the ball over a million times. I guess that would be my
only thing with the week 18 matters thing is that week 18, I think it was week 18 by this point, they were technically alive in 2022.
So that's why I added the caveat about being better at the
like the 2022 season. If they had won in Buffalo, they were in the playoffs. I'm pretty sure.
They needed help.
I thought it was winning.
They needed help. I remember that. They needed help.
I thought it was winning.
They needed help.
Regardless, they were technically it was if they had won the game, they were alive.
The point. Well, but that's why, because we had this conversation already. That's why I did that caveat.
Yeah.
Why did that game? They started. What did they start
that year?
Yeah, they were over 500 for a little bit there.
Yeah.
They started 6-4, and then they went 5-2 or 2-5 down the stretch.
Yeah.
So that's why I added the. You got to be better at the end than the beginning. You got to be in the playoffs, but you got to be better at the end than the beginning. If they start 2-5 and finish 8-9, and they get knocked out on the last week of the year, I mean, I got to see how it all plays out, but I might not hate that. That might be okay. They gave me what they needed to give me. I'd like to be a little better than that, just with their schedule being as bad as it is, but like that's kind of what I'm looking for.
Fair enough. All right, Nate is in Connecticut. What's up, Nate?
Hey guys, can you guys hear me well?
Yeah, we got you.
All right, so my question for you guys is about Kyle Duggar. I know he's someone you haven't really mentioned at all on the 2 shows. What have you guys seen out of him these past couple training camps? I haven't really heard anything about him. Is he still under that slump from his injury this previous year, or is he bouncing back sort of and he's getting back into the groove? Thanks, guys.
Thanks for the call, Nate. That's a good segue onto the defense, so let's get to that here in a second. But Brace right here in New England, Brunt Workwear makes work boots and apparel that are built for the job site. That their gear is comfortable, durable, and named after the real workers in the trade that helped design it. You can even try Brunt on the job. If it doesn't blow you away, they let you send it back. Save $10 on your first order at bruntworkwear.com/Pats or with coupon code PATS. I said this before, I'll say it again. Their quarter zip that they gave us is awesome. And I see the boss. I see the Kingmaker, Fred Kirsch, wearing the quarter zip frequently. He's a big fan of it as well. So I'm telling you, that's good stuff. And hey, football fans, enter the Patriots road trip raffle with your chance to travel to New Orleans as the Patriots take on the Saints on October 12th. One lucky fan will receive 2 tickets on a private charter to the game, tickets to the game, hotel accommodations, and much more. Enter for a chance to win for just $10. All proceeds benefit the Patriots Foundation. Purchase your tickets. Visit www.patriots.com/community. All right, Kyle Duggar. It's a good segue by Nate there. This is becoming kind of like the receiver topic of how good is this receiver room actually. How good is this safety room actually, and what's going on at safety has become another hot button area of concern, if you will. And Kyle Duggar has had a slow camp. And I think the thing that makes it different from past camps, kind of like what Nate was asking with Kyle Duggar, is usually with Kyle Duggar, there's some splash plays mixed in there where, like, even if it's kind of fluky, like he'll get a pick six or he'll intercept a pass or he'll recover a fumble or like something, right?
Yeah.
Something like usually splashy happens with Kyle Duggar that makes him noticeable on the practice field. This year, I feel like the only thing that I'm noticing is him not exactly holding up in coverage.
He was better yesterday. I guess not in coverage. He was better overall yesterday. Yeah, I've said that, like, I want to play Kyle Duggar in the box. I just want to play Kyle Duggar in the box and let him hunt the football.
Yeah.
That's where he's at his best. Let him do that. They haven't been able to do that the last couple of years because they don't have a true deep safety. And then Jabril Peppers was away from the team, and he was just the guy. So they have Jalen Hawkins. They have Marcus Epps. Hopefully he can do it now. I still think Peppers is a tremendous player. I still think Kyle Duggar is a starting caliber player. If you put him in that role where he can succeed, which they should be able to do, especially in this defense. And then I like their depth. Hawkins, Epps, Craig Woodson has shown some flashes. See if Del Pettis ends up sticking around. But they have to be healthy. Duggar and Peppers are both significant ifs when it comes to health. Epps is coming off a torn ACL. If they're healthy, it's a really good safety room. If they're healthy. And that's not that's not an insignificant if with this group.
So I think where this, and we got an email about this as well, titled Defending Tight Ends. I think that where this is all stemming from is that Kyle Duggar, when he's been asked to defend tight ends throughout his career, and then even in the practice yesterday against Zach Ertz, he got beat a couple times by Ertz. It's not an area of his game that I think is a particular strength, like man coverage against tight ends. And if it's not Kyle Duggar, and then you want Jabril Peppers, and he's been playing sort of the hybrid role still, where he's been in the box quite a bit, or even I've seen him actually in the third down pass rush package quite a bit too.
He did that a little bit as a rookie, and he was good. He
Peppers like three level guy right now with this defense. I think Peppers is going to definitely be here and be active for the Patriots defense. So if Peppers is doing that sort of thing, and you don't want Duggar playing the deep part of the field because you don't really think that's a particular strength of his, and he's not holding up covering tight ends, this is how we're getting to these rumors about Kyle Duggar. And I think, I don't know if a rumor might be a little strong, more, it might have just been a take. I think Bedard was sort of the first one.
I think take more than rumor.
Yeah, let's call it a take by Greg that maybe Kyle Duggar could be on the outside looking in. And look, this is what happens too with new coaching staffs. Like, this coaching staff gets here, they start to get into camp and figure out the roster and how the pieces of the roster fit together, and they just might look at it a little bit differently. I think when the Patriots signed Peppers and Duggar both to those extensions, they were just thinking good football players.
Yeah.
We're going to keep good football players here. This is what we're going to do. Now that Vrabel's in here, I wonder if him and Terrell Williams are looking at it and being like, well, they're redundant, right? Like, there's too much overlap to these two skill sets, whereas a Craig Woodson or a Jalen Hawkins might be able to offer a little bit more of a free safety body type, and we don't really love Duggar and Peppers together. And I wonder if we are going down that path. Now, that might not mean that Kyle Duggar is gone this year. Like, this might be a next offseason thing where they officially
his contract makes it tougher to move on this year.
They'd have to probably
find
find a trade, and I think that's hard to do.
I just wouldn't sell low on a guy like that.
Yeah, so that's where we're at with Kyle Duggar. The emailer said, so can we just get ready for Brock Bowers to go for 10 for 115 in week 1? My hope about this to this point with Bowers coming in here week 1, I'm hoping that Vrabel is going to have that Belichick game plan gene where he's going to be able to say anybody but Bowers.
Yeah.
And maybe that means brackets. Maybe that means,
a corner. I think it means a corner.
A corner. Maybe that means like robber or low hole help all the time so that you're not truly bracketing him, but you kind of are bracketing him with two sets, 4 eyeballs on Brock Bowers most of the game. I would like to think that they're going to make the Raiders beat them without feeding Brock Bowers at that level. But we'll see what happens. We have a long way to go.
I think it can be a corner because when you look at Vegas's receivers, I'm going to give you the list here. Alex Bachman, Patriots legend Quan Baker, Jack Beck, Patriots legend Philip Dorsett, which, by the way, is he the first...
Wait, Philip Dorsett's still in the league?
Yes, he is. You know who else is still in the league and he was here yesterday?
What?
Remember Carl Davis?
Yes.
He's on the Commanders.
Yeah, I know. I knew
Shout out
that.
Carl Davis.
I knew that. I had no idea Philip Dorsett was still in the league.
Still in the league. Is he the first ever NFL player to catch a touchdown pass from his owner?
Wait, what?
Is Philip Dorsett the first ever NFL player to catch a touchdown pass from his owner?
Who owns him?
Brady.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
From his team owner. Actually, he's not. Did Brady own the Raiders last year? When did that become official?
I think this year.
Oh, because then I forgot they have...
Brady also doesn't own the Raiders.
I forgot they have Jacoby.
He has like 5%.
Okay,
stake.
but you get the point.
Yeah.
It's wild. Philip Dorsett, Katron Jackson, Shedrick Jackson, Colin Johnson, Tommy Mellett, Jacoby Myers, your guy Dante Thornton, who apparently is having a good camp, Trey Tucker, and Seth Williams. So not exact like Jacoby can play, right?
Yeah.
And Jack Betch is like a nice player. You put Gonzalez on Jacoby. Alex Austin can cover Jack Betch.
Yeah.
Beck. I'm not worried about that. Like you can put
Yeah.
Carlton Davis on Brock Bowers.
Yeah. So I definitely to go back to the safety thing. They've talked about wanting to be interchangeable back there, but I do think that we might be gravitating towards more traditional roles, like true free and strong safety roles. And right now, Peppers is definitely in the driver's seat to be the strong safety. And between Jalen Hawkins and I would say right now it's probably Hawkins and Woodson competing, and maybe a little bit of Epps in that competition as well. They're competing for a free safety role. And I could see a world where Duggar is like a package situational player. Like he's not somebody that's on the field all the time, like he has been the last couple of years. And it'll be interesting to see where they go from there. But maybe it is Woodson at free, Peppers at strong, Duggar as like the third, like like a true nickel dime safety, right? If they want to go three safety, then he's the third guy in. And especially in obvious pass. Like I think that's where you want to take Duggar off the field, is when you know that they're going to pass the ball.
Yeah. If
he's out there on first down to stop the run and to play aggressively and do all that kind of stuff, I think he can still be a productive player for him. But I wonder if there's a world where when we talk about true starters, like we're really talking about Peppers with a true free safety, like an Hawkins or a Craig Woodson. And then that leaves the whole conversation about, who really is covering the tight end. Because I don't think that's Peppers' strong suit either. I think Peppers' strong suit is roaming and being in the box and blitzing and playing at the second level.
That's probably their best two safeties are both ideally box safeties.
Yeah. So we'll see where that all ends up. That's a big question. The other part on the defense that I wanted to get to, I've been really now look, the Commanders, you said it earlier, the Commanders wide receiver room sans Terry McLaurin is it's
bad.
It's scary, Terry. So it's not a great room. That being said, I think Alex Austin has really solidified himself as like a third corner in this league. I think he can be that player for them. And DJ James, I thought, had another decent practice yesterday where he held up pretty well.
Yeah, I like DJ James. Corner's a position where I'm always a little more concerned with depth than others, especially with, Carlton Davis' injury history. And DJ James isn't a guy I want out there a lot. If he has to play his third corner in a game or two this year, I'm comfortable with that. I'm going to give you one other guy, by the way, who's going to make the team. That literally nobody is talking about, and I kind of know why they're not talking about it, but he's going to be on my roster projection. I'm telling you right now he's going to make the team. Trey Avery.
Okay. He was with Vrabel in Tennessee,
with Vrabel in Tennessee. He primarily played special teams and kind of was their last rotational corner. It's exactly what Marcellus Dial did here last year. And they signed Trey Avery, or they claimed him off waivers, which tells you that they like him because they didn't wait for him to pass waivers. They claimed him off waivers after Marcellus Dial got hurt. Trey Avery is going to make this team. I feel really strongly about this. The corner room is going to be Austin, Avery, Davis, Gonzalez, DJ James, Marcus Jones. I'd like to see Isaiah Bolden get run. I feel like I've been saying that for 3 years now, and at this point, I'm maybe just yelling into the void.
Yeah.
Those six guys, that's their corner room. I feel very strongly about that.
Yeah, I like it. Like, I think it's good on paper, obviously, with a second-team All-Pro like Gonzalez, who's on the upward trajectory, and Carlton Davis at the top of the depth chart. It's easy to say it's a good room, but what I've really been encouraged by is just how well DJ James and Alex Austin have held up. Now, it's the Patriots receiver room and it's the Commanders receiver room. So I'll put that caveat in there. Next week, when the Patriots go to Minnesota, Justin Jefferson's been kind of like hamstring / I'm Justin Jefferson. I'll see you week 1ing it right now in training camp. So I don't know if he's going to be out there next week, but they also have Jordan Addison, of course, too.
Oh no, because he got suspended.
He's suspended,
but
kicks in later. Yeah, he can still practice for now. So we're going up a level, is my point. So even if it's just Addison and there's no Justin Jefferson, like how does Austin and DJ James look against Jordan Addison, who I think is a much better receiver? Maybe not better than Diggs, but like better than the receivers that the Commanders certainly have outside of Terry McLaurin. So it'd be interesting to see how those practices go for those depth corners. But
yeah, and I mean they also have Rondale Moore's an NFL receiver representative, Jalen Naylor. Like they have some. It's a lot better even if you want to take out Jefferson and Addison. It's a better room, I think, than what Washington has.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I didn't realize it. You know who's on Minnesota? Bryson Nesbitt.
Nice.
So maybe remember Bill used to do this? Like, he'd always sign or claim off waivers one guy that they faced in joint practices?
Yeah.
That's what I want to ask you. Any of the Commanders' tackles look good to you?
Laramie Tunsil?
Like, that's going to be on the bubble, maybe get waived?
Honestly, I thought Laramie Tunsil was the only one that looked decent.
All right.
Good player. Good football player.
He's a good player.
So, I'm interested to see if as we go up, above weight class, as they say here, with the wide receiver position, if those depth corners still hold up. But, in some ways, in terms of Gonzo, like him pulling a hand, like that's not good. Like it's not good for any of your good players to get hurt. I'm not saying that. But in some respects, like having Alex Austin and DJ James get this much exposure is not
valuable reps.
Yeah, it's a valuable reps, and there's no questions about Christian Gonzalez's ability. He doesn't necessarily need the reps at the same way. So to get an extended look to evaluate Austin and DJ James has been a decent development. And if you want to look at it like glass half full of Gonzo getting hurt during camp, I'd say that's the way to look at it. And I do wonder with DJ James, because he's not the biggest corner. Yeah. I do wonder if there's like a slot flexibility in his future. Like maybe he could play more inside and have that ability as well. Because I still think that they want to have a guy that they can put inside that's a little bit bigger. I don't think that that's Alex Austin's game. I think Alex Austin's too like tight hipped and like an upright mover to play the slot.
Yeah.
So I feel like Marcus Jones right now is going to play the slot, but I'm on an island with Marcus Jones on the PU panel. I'm the only guy that still thinks that Marcus Jones is a good corner, I guess. But
I still think he's a good corner.
Yeah, so Marcus Jones, but
he just has to stay healthy.
If they want to have a bigger body type there, Marcellus Dial obviously going out was really the front runner for that role, I would say, until he got hurt. So now maybe it's DJ James once Gonzalez and Davis start practicing again. Maybe it becomes DJ James. This is not, there's not any intel. Don't aggregate me whatsoever. I just feel like Carlton Davis and Christian Gonzalez, like, that week in between where it's like right after the third preseason game, but it's not week 1 yet.
Labor Day weekend. That
in between week. Yeah. I think we're going to see 0 and 7 out there.
That's when they're going to ramp up. Yeah. I agree with you.
Yeah. So I still don't have any concern there. In terms of the line of scrimmage on the defense side of the ball from practice yesterday, I thought Barmore and Milton Williams showed well. I thought those guys are going to play, or they're going to translate against every team pretty much. I think they're just going to be good. I'm really optimistic about what we've seen so far out of Harold Landry. I don't know what it's going to amass to. I don't know if his pass rush production or like his win rate and all that fancy stuff is all going to go back to where it was when Vrabel was in Tennessee. But I thought he was disruptive yesterday on a handful of occasions. I think he just fits the scheme. He knows the scheme. He's pretty good as a looper on those stunts or the T&Es on the end of the line. I thought he was productive on some of those yesterday as well. He looks like he's in great shape and came in ready to go. I've been pleasantly not surprised, but just like it's been good for Harold Landry. It's been good.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we expected, right? It wasn't going to be this. He's not going to be Myles Garrett. He's not going to be this overwhelming pass rusher, but you feel his presence.
Yeah.
He feels presence when he's out there.
Anybody else on defense that stood out to you?
So just camp as a whole, because like I feel like we haven't talked in a while. There's been a lot of practices between the last time we did the show and now. I am very pleasantly surprised about Kairos Tonga. I thought Kairos Tonga, and he had a good day yesterday too. So this it relates to yesterday. I thought Kairos Tonga was going to be the guy that was going to play 25, 30% of the time, 3rd and short, 4th and short, goal line. That was going to be it. He got a little movement to him, and he's not Aaron Donald, but like there were a couple times he created pressure as a pass rusher. That's actually something I'm going to be watching for out there tomorrow night. Like,
I want to get to that in a second. So just
like, can he play on 1st and 10? Can he play on 2nd and 5? These kind of in between downs, because I've said this. I'm a little worried about the run defense as a whole. If Kairos Tonga can be more than just a strict situational player, that's going to help them out a lot. So I've been really surprised by him. He's been awesome. Like, I've really enjoyed watching him.
He is.
And he seems like he gets it too. Like, I like when we talk to him. I like everything that he says. Yeah.
He is he's a strong dude. Like and I think what's impressed me the most about him, to your point, is like his bull rush and the pass rush is legit. Like he can legitimately dent the pocket with that level of bull rush.
Yeah.
And he's an angry rusher. Like you can hear it when he like collides with like a guard or a center and he starts to bull rush. Like it's gonna be a long way to grandma's house. Like he's not gonna blow by people, but he's gonna push the pocket and he's gonna end up in the quarterback's lap at some point. I've been really pleasantly surprised. I'll use that phrase here. Like I've been pleasantly surprised at how noticeable he has been in the pass rush. Like he's a legitimate pocket pusher. And if he can do that, then he does become more of a regular player, because even on 1st and 10, like he's out there to stop the run. But when they play pass, like when they play action or they drop back on 1st and 10, well, he's not a liability now because he can just dent the pocket. Like that's when a nose tackle becomes like a more regular player. Vince Wilfork wasn't blown by people either, but Vince Wilfork would walk the center back into the quarterback's lap, and that's a valuable asset as well. So I'm with you. That was a good shout on Tonga. You said what you were looking forward to a little bit there tomorrow night. I want to preview the game a little bit here at the end. What are you watching for? I know that preseason, the starters don't usually play much these days, and that's a bummer for some fans. But I think that there's a lot of interesting, competitions that are still shaking themselves out at the back end of the roster that I'm going to be watching for, especially.
Backup tackles, you seem a little higher on Marcus Bryant than me, but and even if you are, like, it's game action. What does Marcus Bryant look like, especially on the left side? Cole Strange, Ben Brown, that dynamic. It's a lot of stuff that we talked about. Javon Baker, the back end of that wide receiver room. A position we didn't talk about, I'll give you this one, linebacker. So Spillane, Gibbons, Ellis are going to make the team.
Yep.
Those are kind of sideline to sideline, faster, athletic guys. Are they going to keep Marte Mapu as a fourth one of those guys? Is there room for a thumper? Is there a fourth guy? And I don't think Jelani Tavai is going to play because he's hurt. But, like, again, Spillane, Gibbons, Ellis are all making the team. Does a fourth linebacker make the team? If so, who? Monty Rice is a guy we probably should talk a little more about. Played for Vrabel in Tennessee. Had a good spring. Hasn't done as much this summer.
Yeah.
Does somebody emerge in that conversation?
So,
and then give yours, and then I'll do kickers.
Okay. Good idea. So, offensive line, I've been waiting since May to watch Will Campbell on tape in a Patriot uniform.
And I should have had it.
So just getting some film on Will Campbell, because I admit, even as a guy that likes to watch the trenches during practice, without being able to review the tape of what exactly happened, there's a lot of bodies and flying parts and things like that. It's hard to really diagnose sometimes in the live viewing of practice what exactly happened when there is a breakdown on the offensive line. So watching Will Campbell, studying his film a little bit in a Patriot uniform, I'm really looking forward to that. Jared Wilson too, but I think all of us are sort of on Campbell watch at this point. And I like that. I like that people want to talk about the offensive line. I love that. So
I don't love that line had to be historically bad to get to this point, but hey, we're here, whatever.
We're here. So Will Campbell, he's number one on my list. Like when I will release like a after further review, film review after the game, probably on Saturday night. And it might be the lead story, honestly, is how the rookies and how especially Will Campbell looked in their preseason debut. So I'm looking forward to seeing that with Campbell. I think the other things that I'm looking forward are the same as what you kind of laid out there.
Yeah.
But really the wide receivers, Baker, Chisholm, Polk, those guys need to continue to point the arrow upward if they're going to make the team. Like, if they don't really need to keep 6, right? Like, they don't need to keep 6. You need to make them need to keep 6, right? If that makes sense. Like,
right.
they don't. You can get a lot of teams carry 6 now, but you can carry 5 and be good. So if they're going to carry 6 receivers, it's because Javon Baker just had such a good summer that they don't want to cut bait with him just yet, or Chisholm had a great preseason and he had like this Edelman breakout during the preseason and they don't want to cut him just yet. So those receivers have got to earn spots. Depth along the offensive line is obviously another big one. How does Cole Strange look? Marcus Bryant, Caden Wallace, if he plays in the game, those guys as well. I'm not looking out too much on defense, to be honest with you. I feel like they're defensively, they kind of know who their like 15 guys are that are going to play a lot. But we'll see maybe about, those young corners in Austin and DJ James. So you do your kicker minute. Right. We got 3 minutes to go.
I have a take on this.
Perfect amount of time. I might have a half-baked take.
Okay.
So what's your take?
You give yours first because mine's going to undo yours.
My half-baked take on the kicker thing, if we get through the Minnesota game and Borregales is steady from what we've seen over the last, what I would say like week and a half maybe from him, I think it's over. You're not going to cut a draft pick.
Do I get to bring back my 2 kickers take?
You're not going to cut the draft pick if it's even, and he's already. It's probably even to maybe a little bit of an edge towards Borregales at this point, and I just don't see a world unless Borregales falls apart in the next couple of weeks in the preseason where Parker Romo wins the job.
Do you remember the 2 kickers take?
Yeah,
I was very proud of it.
What was your actual kicker take?
So my actual kicker take is this. It has been close between the two of them. They've both been absolutely nails. Borregales hasn't missed in like 2 weeks. Parker Romo finally missed his first kick yesterday, and I'm not kidding. He missed it by this much.
Yeah.
Like, they've both been locked in. So I'm thinking about this, right? And we're missing half the story when we talk about it. We use the field goals because they're easy, right? It's good or it's not good. The field goals might not be the deciding factor here if they're both good. It's going to be the kick. It's going to be the kickoffs.
This is so you.
It's going to be the kickoffs.
So you.
And I'm waiting.
I love it.
Can't wait till we get to talk to Jeremy Springer again because I want to ask him about this.
Can't wait, Marine, to talk to the special teams.
You want to listen to the take or like?
You can't wait. Yeah.
So
sorry.
Springer's talked about how he thinks there's going to be more kickoff returns this year. They moved that touchback up to the 35, right? Teams don't want to deal with that. So that tells me the Patriots don't want to deal with it. They want to put the ball in play and cover. So you got to be able. You can't be kicking the ball into the end zone, but you don't want to kick it so short that you can't set up your return coverage. So
I'm following.
You need which kicker can work. If they're both hitting every field goal, right? Okay, which kicker's better at kickoffs? Which one's consistently getting the ball inside the 5 but not putting it in the end zone? Now, that's not as black and white judging as field goals because even if they put it inside the 5, there is a play call on that we don't know. And okay, he put it inside, but it was on the right sideline when it was supposed to be in the middle, or he kicked it like this when he was supposed to kick like that, whatever, right? But it might come down to who's the better kickoff kicker. And again, not knowing the play calls, just looking at who's more consistently getting the ball in that range where you want to get it. I would say Borregales by a smidge in the kickoff stuff we've seen them do in practice. Hopefully the Patriots are scoring a lot because I want to see a lot of kickoffs because I think that might be more than anything else what determines the kicker battle. That might matter more than the field goals if they're both going to be this good.
I just don't see a world.
And also, along with that, the kickoff returner battle is important too. We'll see that tomorrow night.
So Borregales, you invested a 6th-round pick in the guy. And I just feel like it would have to have been like a Justin Rohrwasser-esque train wreck for it to cut a 6th-round pick. And the fact that Borregales is at least even with Parker Romo and probably maybe a little bit better at this point than Parker Romo.
Parker Romo hadn't missed till yesterday. Like, that's kind of insane.
Yeah.
He was like 20, I think he hit his first 23 before he missed.
That's
wild.
It's hard for me to envision a world where they cut the draft pick. It is like
so
that's it.
I will sort of bring back my 2 kicker take.
No, don't.
There are not
Please
enough.
don't.
I'm not saying they're going to keep 2 kickers.
You think they're going to trade?
Even though I'm
of
at
them?
52 players on my roster projection right now, and I could do it if I wanted. I could do it if I wanted. Yes, they could maybe if a team's worried about the kicker situation. If Parker Romo's still not missing in the preseason, can they get? Would they get a 7th-round pick for Nick Folk? Can you do some sort of pick swap or something and get a pick for John Parker Romo?
So really quickly, and then we got to go. I want to unpack your kickoff thing a little bit because I think I actually find this a tad bit interesting.
It is interesting, and the kickoff play is interesting.
So basically, the best kick in the current rules is to bounce it like inside the 10-yard line, but to like keep it in bounds.
No. So the best thing you can do,
because he has to go in the landing zone.
Right. So so a touchback. There's 2 touchbacks now.
Because if it bounces into the end zone, it's the less touchback.
That's
right?
That's to the 20. That's the old touchback.
So that's what you want to do.
Right. But are any teams just going to willingly let the ball bounce into the end zone and start at the 20?
Maybe.
I don't think so. If you don't trust yourself in this format to return the ball to the 20, I'm sorry, you suck. You suck at special
it's not that you don't trust it, but a lot of coaches, you don't. It's not so much about the return; it's about the ball security. I think for a lot of coaches,
if you don't trust yourself to hold on to the ball
and run 20 yards
and risk that much field position, remember they're lining up on the 35.
Yeah,
right. That's where the coverage team is.
So in your mind, the best. Where would you want ideally? Because you want the ball. You want to put the ball in the landing zone, but not in the end zone.
You can't come short. Short of the landing zone is the 40.
Right, but you don't want it to go in the end zone.
You can't go directly in the end zone because that's 35. So this is what I need to ask Springer, because I've heard both sides of the arguments on this.
Yeah.
If you kick it as deep as possible without it going into the end zone, you have more time to develop your coverage play, whatever you've drawn up, because there's like stunts and twists and stuff with coverage.
Yeah, no, they were pretty creative with it last year.
But the flip side of that is, if you kick it to like the 18-19, well, now the other team doesn't have time to set up their blocking.
Right.
So that might just be, I might ask him and he'll say, I can't give away that strategy.
Yeah.
Like that might be a different thing team to team. I look at it like a punt. I want to put it as close to the goal line as possible.
That's how I look at it as well.
Then you're pressuring them to catch it and not let it roll into the end zone. At the 18, like it's not going to roll in the end zone from the 18.
What I would say is the ideal, and then we got to go. But we started a little late, so it's okay.
Yeah.
What I would say is the ideal, and the people that are listening to this right now,
these are the real ones.
These are the diehards.
We call these P1s.
If it were me,
yeah,
I would want to land it like right outside the end zone.
Yeah,
and I'm putting it right on a spot that Brennan Schooler is just sprinting to as part of the coverage unit. And I am hoping that Brennan Schooler is like in Tennessee last year is going to come down and light the dude up. Well, right?
So
like that's
you have to remember,
the ideal.
Schooler can't move until the ball is caught.
Right.
So,
but he still got up over 20 miles an hour in Tennessee.
He did, but the guy's going to be gone by the time. Schooler's got to go 35 yards to get to where that ball is. And he can't start running till the guy's already caught it.
No, I'm not saying he's going to get the ball. I'm saying he's just going to be in the path so that when the guy starts moving up the field, you can get that collision.
So then what you have to do...
Either it's to fear field position or maybe even you create a turnover.
So that makes sense, but that's hard because you can't kick it. This is where when I said we don't know exactly what the kickoff play is, so we can't fully judge it.
Yeah.
You can't run that play if you're kicking the ball in the middle of the field. Because now the returner can go left or right.
You got to
pin him in the corner,
which is hard to do because if it goes out of bounds.
If it goes out of bounds, now you really blew. So you're trying to really. I kind of like it because it's not back, but the old coffin corner sort of back. If you're going to do that, ideally you have Schooler and another guy, and you kick it in the middle and you vice. That's what I would do.
Okay, I think I know the answer to this.
Yeah,
you have to kick it off the tee.
So somebody told me they changed that. And then I don't know. I thought I saw them doing it at camp. The other thing is last year, teams figured out if you laid the ball down flat on the tee instead of standing up. I want to make you go get me one of those footballs to show it.
Yeah.
If you laid the ball flat on the tee, you could put this weird spin on it, which now that you don't need to kick it as far, teams are willing to do. And then they said, no, it has to be standing up on the tee.
But you can't drop kick it.
You can't. Well, you can still do the drop kick, but that's a whole other thing.
I know, but I'm saying they can't put Bryce Behringer out there to literally punt it. It has to be. It's not a free kick. You
can't do a free kick. No, but there was a thing where some teams were literally experimenting. Do you know what driver off the deck means?
Yes.
Essentially that. They were just going to put the ball on the grass, no tee, and kick it because you could make it spin a certain way, and it made it really hard to catch, and it just created a whole other thing for the return team to worry about. And then the league said, no, the ball has to be upright on the tee, but then there was a whole conversation about, okay, well, it has to be upright on the tee. What if it's not on the tee? Can you kick off without a tee? And I don't remember where that conversation went. That's another thing we have to ask Springer.
Okay, so this is the only show that you're going to get 10 minutes on the kickoffs. I promise you that. This is the only show in New England that is going to talk about the kickoffs and break down the kickoffs like we just did. So you're welcome. I hope you enjoyed it. You're welcome. That was just for you guys there. So next week, a couple housekeeping things here before we sign off. I am going to Minnesota next week for the joint practices. We are going to have a show. It's going to be Thursday, 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern time, because the Vikings practice at noon Central time, so there's like time differences. I'm not going to try to confuse you guys. It's math. It's hard. But we're going to be on from 4 to 6 Eastern time next Thursday. So we will have a show. We will talk about both practices. So we'll have plenty of things to talk about, which will be all well and good and lots of fun. And so then we'll see you guys then. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to the special teams talk as well, if you're still here with us. And we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Hey, this is Deuce. Thanks for tuning into the show. If you really want to help us, make sure you like us wherever you get your podcasts, like Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, make sure you follow us on the New England Patriots YouTube channel to see this show and everything else that we do here at the Patriots. Thanks a lot.